And now, the next case.
All parties in the matter of Fiorentino versus Brown Cook. Step forward.
Robert Fiorentino is suing his former tenants, Joseph Brown and Norman Cook IV, for unpaid rent and damages.
Mr. Brown, what was the address of the place where you were living?
Union Street, 2nd floor.
And you lived there for 4 years, is that right?
Right around 4 years, yes, Your Honor.
Who owns that address, Mr. Fiorentino?
I own the property, Your Honor.
So when you purchased the property, they were already living there?
Yes.
Okay, great. And when did you purchase it?
November 14th, I believe, 2014.
Did you have a written lease with the defendants who lived in this
I inherited
apartment?
the lease from the previous owners, yes.
Okay, do you have that?
I do.
I'd like to take a look at it. When did you leave the apartment?
In the beginning of September?
September?
Yes.
Of 2015?
Yes.
Okay, well, the lease was up on August 31st, 2015.
Yes, I also paid all of August's rent.
What date did you leave in September?
I don't know the exact...
What date did they leave in September?
They didn't leave in September. I think he actually moved out of the apartment right around October 1st. But the lease did carry over and renew month to month. And
No, he didn't live... Listen, I know that that's what you're looking for, Mr. Fiorentino, but that's not going to happen, because this is what your lawsuit is about.
Judge Judy Fiorentino says former tenants Joseph Brown and Norman Cook IV owe for unpaid rent and damages.
Now, you didn't like the defendants in that apartment. You had been receiving complaints, according to you, from neighbors that there was some suspicious activity, drug-related activity in the apartment. You wanted them out. And they moved.
Well, I gave them the option.
You wanted them out.
I have text messages where he said he was going to stay in the apartment, and I said, okay. I wanted him to leave on his own volition.
I said I wasn't... I'm sorry, Your Honor.
And he agreed to pay
I wanted him to leave anyway because he had been a problem from the beginning. He planned on going month to month with a 60-day notice. He paid for September's rent, but then he canceled that check and the check bounced. Now, you paid September's rent.
I gave him a check for September's rent, and I canceled the check because I moved into a new apartment, but I didn't have the money to pay there. And
that's not what you said in your answer.
I'm sorry.
You said you canceled the check for a different reason.
I canceled the check so I had money to move into a new apartment.
No, that's not what you say in your answer, sir. You say, I gave him a check for September's rent, but he never returned my security deposit.
Oh, yes, absolutely. I don't...
And that's why you canceled the check.
And he also...
Okay, this will tell me how much security deposit there was on the apartment. You had $1,100 in security, which you inherited from the owner.
That's correct.
Did you return that to him?
No, Your Honor.
Okay.
And also...
However, there were many damages. I could show you. There were drugs in the apartment.
Just a second.
Sure.
What you're suing for is that he didn't give you 60 days notice.
No, that's not correct.
Sure.
If you look at the exact wording, he gave 60 days and then did not pay on any of those 60 days.
I don't care. He was out.
Your Honor, yes.
Listen to me.
Thank you.
He was out.
He didn't.
And you
he left all his property.
Just a second. You want him out of the apartment. He pays you rent. He's up to date in his rent. He moves out. You don't return his security of $1,100, which you have. Well, you actually used the security deposit for your last month's rent, which is why you canceled the check.
Yes.
Okay, so now that's a wash. Now you're going to show me the damage that they did to the apartment, because you wanted him out of this apartment.
Might I say, I wanted...
Listen, don't equivocate. Just show me the damage, sir. And mind you, they've lived in this apartment for 4 years. I also want to see the police report.
Would you also like to see the drug ledger where you...
What?
There's a drug ledger there.
No. Did you understand what I said? Your complaint said that you called the police to have the police remove the drug paraphernalia. I want to see the police report. Fiorentino is the new owner of Street. Today he had cleaners at the rental unit. They found several pieces of plastic, cut up big pens, which appeared to be burnt. These are commonly used for smoking marijuana. There appeared to be marijuana residue also found. Former tenant was Joe Brown. He had no information on Brown, as he did not rent to him.
Might I also point out that I wasn't allowed to remove his property for 30 days because that's the law in Pennsylvania. So he was renting that. I couldn't put a new tenant in there. I couldn't clean. I couldn't do anything while his property remained there that you see in those pictures.
What property are you talking about?
There was furniture in several of the pictures and just garbage strewn about the property. I wasn't allowed to do anything with it until 30 days passed. I also have the text.
Just a second. Hey.
I'm sorry, Your Honor.
Judge Judy Robert Fiorentino says former tenants Joseph Brown and Norman Cook IV owe for unpaid rent and damages.
Now, is this your sofa?
Yes, it is, Your Honor.
What'd you leave it there for?
Because it was Thursday. The trash comes Thursday. Like I told you, I lived there for almost 4 years. Every Wednesday night, the trash would be put out. It just so happened this Thursday when I went to go put trash out, the trash was full. I have a paper
Just a second. Trash was full. How you put?
I have paper of him complaining about me having anything on the driveway or by the curb.
I don't care. Move it.
Okay, Your Honor.
Move it. You don't leave it for somebody else to clean up after you.
Okay.
What do you mean, okay?
I understand.
You have to move it.
Yes, Your Honor.
And what's this junk?
That was where the police found the drugs.
Well, this is also stuff there. It's a dartboard, it's a table, it's a stool. Whose stuff is that?
There was 3 or 4 people that lived there before Norman even moved in.
We're talking 4 years ago.
No.
I didn't know what to do. All right. So now do you have a bill to get rid of all this stuff, Mr. Fiorentino?
I have documents for the cleaning.
I'd like to see them. And the trash removal?
The trash removal I did, I took off of work and did with myself and some friends. The painting, everything smelled heavily of smoke, so we had to get...
They lived there 4 years, sir. You bought the premises and you bought it with them as tenants.
Thank you.
I also have the text here where he renewed the lease.
Did you hear what I said? You wanted him out of the apartment. He moved out of the apartment. And he paid you pretty much up until the time they moved.
Well, I wasn't able to rent until I was able to clear all that stuff out. So that was 2 months that was shot for me. And he agreed to live there for 60 days, to pay for 60 days, and then he didn't.
This invoice, I don't believe. This one. It doesn't even say who the painter was.
It doesn't say Craig on there? A gentleman named Craig.
Now, I want you to show me proof, Mr. Brown,
Sure.
of the lease where you are currently living, when that started.
I didn't bring it with me.
What's the name of the realty company that manages it?
I didn't have a realtor company. I have the address.
How did you rent it? Who did you rent it from?
I saw a for rent sign outside, and it just so happened I was in the predicament I was, so I called. I lived there.
I'm not following all you people actually started.
I didn't bring it with me.
What's the name of the realty company that manages it?
I didn't have a realtor company. I have the address.
How did you rent it? Who did you rent it from?
I saw a for rent sign outside, and it just so happened I was in the predicament I was, so I called. I lived there.
I'm not following all you people actually.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Closed captioning sponsored by. Do you have concern? Like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter.
Now, is the apartment rented now?
It is.
For how much?
For $1,200 a month as of January 1st.
Very good. Do you like the tenants?
They're nice tenants. Yeah.
Very good. And you have his security deposit that you would at least use to partially defer some of your expenses.
Which doesn't cancel out the October that I wasn't able to because of his property there.
We're done.
Thank you, Your
The
Honor.
case is dismissed.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
3 or 4 people living there before. There was property that was left, obviously drug paraphernalia.
My neighbors would come up to me and complain about people coming in and out of the property.
His ledger, whatever he found that had to do with drugs.
They're saying that people would come in, leave a minute later, just random people all the time.
I don't do drugs. He doesn't do drugs. He has a very great job.
Presumably buying drugs. One of my neighbors said she saw them doing drugs through the window.
I'm also a barber, so I would have people come in to do haircuts, so if that's what he's getting at with that, I don't know.
Because I didn't like the tenants doesn't mean that they...
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Bruno versus Brewer. Step forward.
James Bruno is suing his former tenant, Carla Brewer, for damage to his rental home.
Mr. Bruno, the defendant was the tenant in a home that you owned for 5 years. When was her tenancy from? From when to when?
It was October of 2010, leaving on July 5th, 2015.
And when you rented the house to her, who were the tenants in the house?
The lease called for her husband, Gary, her, and 3 children.
And how old were the children?
10, 8, and 12 maybe, right in that range.
When the lease started?
Correct.
Now, when had you purchased this house?
Approximately 3 years prior.
Did you buy it at a distressed sale, at a distressed price, or was it height of the market?
Can I explain? I own the house across the street, and there was an elderly woman that lived in that home. She passed away. A relative came to
And asked
sell
you
the
if
home,
you-
and I went over and talked to him, and we just discussed, and we negotiated a deal and bought the house.
So an elderly person lived there for a long time?
Correct.
And you bought it in 2007. Did you ever live in the house?
I did not.
Did you rent it in 2007?
Yes, I did.
From 2007 to when?
It's still rented now. It's right close to a college, so we get a lot of students, so we get 1-year lease, and then they're out, and then
so
another.
you had students living there from 2007 to 2010.
No.
Who did you have living there?
I had a young couple living there from 2007 to 2009, and then students from...
Students from 2009 to 2010.
Correct.
Can you produce any bills for me of any renovations that were made prior to the defendant moving into the house?
No.
So can you present any bills to me of any renovations that you made to the house prior to the young couple moving into the house?
No.
So it would be fair to say, Mr. Bruno, and we're speaking, you and I, very frankly, that from the time you purchased the house until the time that the Brewers moved out of the house, you made no structural changes to the house or any major repairs.
Painted the outside.
That was it?
That was it.
So you did a little cosmetic work. So
Correct.
the bathrooms, the kitchen, and everything else were the same when the elderly lady lived there for many years, up through 2015.
Yes, ma'am.
Now you're claiming that after 5 years of tenancy, the defendant caused a great deal of damage to the house, and you wanted to be responsible for that damage.
Correct.
Okay.
Judge Judy. Former tenant Carla Brewer damaged his rental home.
Now, did she have a security deposit with you?
She did.
How much?
$950.
Did you give it back to her?
I did not.
Okay, so now I'd like you to show me pictures of what you claim a damage that Miss Brewer inflicted on your property that has not been renovated in well over a decade except for a paint job on the outside. What is this a picture of?
Pantry.
Are you planning on renting this house again?
It is rented currently.
With the same oven?
Oh, no.
You put in a new oven?
No.
What did you do?
It was cleaned. Took them a while, but they cleaned it.
What's this a picture of, sir?
There is a separate storage room just off the back patio, and that's the door to it.
Well, I'd like you to look at the bottom of this door, and I'd like you to tell me what the bottom of that door looks like, sir. Tell me what damage do you think a person did to that door as opposed to years of neglect?
I can't tell you what the people did to it.
No, I'm just asking you. I'm looking at the bottom of that door that you would like her to pay for, and I see a door that's falling apart, that's coming apart. And it's not coming apart as a result of anything anybody did to it. It's coming apart because it's ancient.
I disagree with you, Your
You
Honor.
disagree
I
with
do.
the bottom of that door?
Also, Your Honor, we did not charge her for the door.
So what are you showing me a picture of it for?
Well, we repaired the hole in the door and the hole on the other side of the door that had a fist hole in it. And if you look, it's consistent with most of the bedrooms.
You see, if I were a reasonable landlord, I would have replaced the whole door, which is falling apart, and paid for it myself. This house has been a cash cow for you for 5 years. I would have done some major renovation in it.
And then rented to students again. That's what we are. So there's a give and take.
So what you want to do is rent to students and leave it like a pig pen. And if you leave it like a pig pen, that's the way people are going to treat it. And what's this supposed to be a picture of?
That's the air conditioning unit in the backyard that had a screwdriver or something punctured.
Or rats. I don't know what it is. Okay. How much was your rent over the 5 years?
It started out at $950, then it was raised $50 3 times since then.
So, did you buy this house free and clear, sir, or is there a mortgage on it?
There's a mortgage.
How much?
Roughly the balance is $130,000 now.
How much do you pay for the mortgage a month in taxes?
About $1,400 a month.
Well, then her rent doesn't cover the mortgage.
You're correct.
Then how do you expect to be in business?
Well, it's based on...
Well is not an answer.
I apologize. The property value, hoping that the property values increase and we're able to sell it, and it's not all about the monthly income.
How much do you rent the apartment to college students?
$1,200 a month.
And is that what you were paying?
$1,250, I believe, wasn't it? No.
So now you're renting it to college students again?
I am.
How many?
3. Place looks great.
Wait till the end of the year.
Yeah.
James Bruno says former tenant Carla Brewer damaged his rental home.
Now, I don't find anything here so egregious. I don't find anything here more egregious than normal wear and tear with 5 adults living in a house that hasn't been cared for in well over a decade. Usually, I'm very lenient to landlords because I don't like people that destroy their property. But you're using this property as a cash cow. You're doing no renovations in it at all. There's a stove that you showed me that looks like it's at least 25 years old, that if I were renting it to anybody, I would spend $250 and replace. You chose not to do that. You chose not to replace a door that's falling apart. You probably puttied up a hole. If I owned property that I was happy with and that I thought would increase in value, I mean, unless what you're thinking of is that somebody's going to come in and tear down the house because the value of the property is what the value is, not the house.
Does the lease have any bearing on that they have an obligation to put the house back in the same condition it was when they moved in?
Show me the condition it was when they moved in.
Here you go. Unfortunately, not as many pictures, and I've got countless other pictures of the rest of the damage, Your Honor.
Just a second.
There's
I'm
damage.
looking.
I don't understand why the damage doesn't matter.
Just a second. Is this the way the bathroom looked when you moved in?
I might have to see them closer,
Okay.
please.
Bathroom, kitchen, and outside. Okay, these are absolutely beautiful pictures.
It's a beautiful house.
And I'm looking. I don't have any of those same pictures in this group of pictures that you gave me. The bathroom.
Your Honor, what about the
kitchen?
things on the list? I have a list of what was done. The faucets.
I don't care what was done.
So if they take a faucet and
I don't care
that
what
doesn't
was,
matter?
I don't care what you did, sir. I don't know who did it. You had an old house that you took marginal care of. Now, I'm asking you a question. Is that the way the kitchen, bathroom looked when you moved in?
These look better. I mean, the pictures, I don't know when these were taken.
My question was, were those the pictures of what the house looked like when you moved in?
No, I don't think so.
Well, they're not dated.
Yeah, that was the actual picture from the Craigslist ad that she answered. But
Well, that
and the
doesn't
reason
mean
the house was
that
painted,
doesn't mean that that's
Okay.
when that pictures
house
were
was
taken.
painted.
Because right before she moved in, sir, you had a bunch of college kids living there.
I did not have a bunch of
That's
college
what you-
kids, Your Honor. I had 3 college kids.
Yeah, Mr.
They did
Bruno,
not do the damage.
let me explain something to you. I'm not giving you any more money.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You had a house for over a decade. You did absolutely nothing in it. You had a paying tenant who paid you every month on the rent. There's no issue with regard to that. You kept us security for cleanup of the house. You've rented the house consistently, sometimes to college kids, sometimes to couples. The couple only lasted a short period of time. They lasted 5 years. So if you want a nice sparkling house, I suggest that you take care of it. Your case is dismissed. We're done.
Excuse me, step out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
I do have 4 kids, and there are things that go on, but
It was destroyed. It was disgusting. It was as bad as I've ever seen in 20 years of renting houses.
I don't know what happened with the holes.
It's as bad as I've ever seen. They did nothing to clean it.
It's kind of comical.
They did nothing to clean it for the 5 years they lived there.
The cleaning and the things that need to be fixed, I felt like the deposit was appropriate.
I've never had to take a student to court. I've taken some of their security deposits, but for the most part, given them back. They treat the house 10 times better than these people did.
Like, ask him to come over and fix things more, so maybe I wasn't loud enough about it.
Never rent to them again and pray for their...
And now, the next case.
All parties in the matter of Gallegos versus Schaefer. Step forward.
Johnny Gallegos is suing his former landlord, Laurie Schaefer, for moving costs and renovation costs.
Oh, this is so interesting, Mr. Gallegos. Gallegos?
Yes,
Is that
ma'am.
how you pronounce your name? Let me see if I understand your claim. In 2011, you took over the lease of someone else and signed a new lease in your name with a person whose name was...
Bill.
He owns the property. He
Yes.
owned the property. Is that person related to you?
Yes, he is.
How?
He is my father.
You signed a lease for a year. 6 months. Did you sign another lease?
No.
Ever?
No.
So that you became a month-to-month tenant.
Correct.
And that was sometime either in 2011 or early 2012.
Correct.
Month to month. Which means that, I don't know what the statutes are like all over where you live, but if you are a nice tenant, if you're planning on moving, you usually give notice 30 days in advance, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And your last name is Schaefer?
Yes, it is.
You took over running the property in what year?
July 1st, 2015.
Was when you took over the property?
Yes.
When did you give Mr. Gallegos a 30-day notice that you wanted him to leave?
I filed a notice to quit on Mr. Gallegos on 1/23/2016 to vacate the property by February 29th, 2016.
Okay, so she gave you a 30-day notice.
Correct.
Which is her right. Just like it's your right to give her a 30-day notice when you decide to move someplace else.
Correct.
Doesn't that sound fair?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, then why do you think, Mr. Gallegos, that she's responsible for your moving expenses?
I feel...
That's what you're suing here for.
Yes.
Well, explain that to me. You're suing for moving expenses and renovations that you made to the dwelling. Let's deal with moving expenses. Why would you think you're entitled to moving expenses?
I feel that Ms. Schaefer saw me doing upgrades on the apartment before she took over and intentionally asked for possession because she knew I was on a month-to-month. So she
did intentionally. She gave you a notice to quit in 30 days. Nothing could be more intentional.
Johnny Gallegos says former landlord Laurie Schaefer owes for moving and renovation costs. Laurie is countersuing for repair costs.
Go ahead.
Everybody that lives there has lived there for 15 years or plus. So all of them are long-term tenants. I was there 4 years, and she's seen me doing the upgrades, and once they made marijuana legal in Colorado, all the rents have gone sky high. So I feel she intentionally...
She did intentionally tell you to move. Nothing, I said to you, nothing could be more intentional. But that's not against the law. She's within her right to ask you to move. You don't have a lease. If you had a lease and she kicked you out, that's one thing. But you have no lease. You were a month-to-month tenant.
Correct.
What if the property value went down instead of going up? And you said, listen, I'm paying $500 a month rent. Everybody else in this whole area is paying $200 a month rent. I only want to pay $200.
Would be fair.
Thanks. My parents didn't waste their money. Now, the next thing that you are claiming, Mr. Gallegos, is that you made renovations to the dwelling that you think that Ms. Schaefer should be responsible for, right?
Correct, yes.
According to what I read, you had an arrangement with the prior person who managed the property, who was her father.
Correct.
That if you made renovations, excuse me a second. Listen, if you're a fly lover, don't bother calling me, don't bother writing. I don't read those emails. Now, you had an arrangement with her father that if you made certain improvements, he would reimburse you the expenses that you had in making those improvements.
Correct.
That was 4 years ago. When was the last time Mr. paid you for making a renovation to the dwelling?
He never paid me. He deducted from the rent.
Okay, when was the last time Mr. deducted it from the rent?
10/5/2012.
So you, I assume, presented Mr. with receipts, and he said, okay, what's your first name?
Johnny.
Okay, Johnny, I'll deduct that from your rent, right?
Correct.
When was the first time since July of 2015 when Ms. Schaefer took over running the property that you presented her with a bill for renovations that you made?
I never did present her with the bill.
Good. Your case is dismissed. Make renovations on a property. You don't have an agreement with her. You have nothing, Mr. Gallegos. You have no case. You have no claim.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter.
Now, you have a counterclaim.
Yes,
Your
I do.
counterclaim is he made certain changes in the property that you didn't authorize.
Correct.
And you want him to put them back in the condition that they were in when he rented in 2011.
Correct.
You have the pictures in 2011?
I do not have the pictures from
Good.
2011.
Good. And when did he make the first renovation that you are complaining about? Put your pictures down.
I have no idea if it was after, I believe it was after I took over the property, we started to get...
Well, that I believe is not an answer.
We got questions from him as to could he do this to the property. I actually had installment of the carpet. I went over and installed the carpet
Just a second.
on his behalf.
So, what are you complaining about?
That is not the complaint I'm making.
What's the complaint?
The complaint is he painted my cabinets white. And I
Ms.
wanted them
Schaefer.
to be back
Ms.
to the
Schaefer,
wood.
Ms. Schaefer, your case is dismissed. We're done.
Excuse you may step out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
Lori filed a counterclaim that was pretty much bogus
Not at all.
because I left that whole apartment in tip-top shape. She refused to give me my deposit back. I had to go to her father to get the deposit.
We had 4 police reports, and they were called out 4 times.
Police never contacted me.
Glad he's...
Be seated. Folks, have a seat.
Miss Phillips, do you breed dogs?
No, Your Honor. I only have done that just one time.
And what kind of dog was it that you bred?
I have a full breed registered Cane Corso.
What do they look like?
They're in the Mastiff family.
How much does your dog weigh?
Knight weighs approximately about 25 pounds.
25.
I'm sorry, 125. My error. He's a big dog. I'm sorry.
Okay. And you did that one time, so you used your dog as stud.
Yes.
And how were you paid when that happened?
I actually was not paid. There was an agreement.
With whom?
With Mr. Stevens here.
Okay. So Mr. Stevens has a female of the same species. Is that right?
Yes.
So you had a breeding once.
Yes.
How long ago was that, Mr. Stevens?
It was July of 2015.
And so the puppies would have been born approximately 63 days later, July to August.
58 to 63
Okay,
days.
so sometime in early September.
Uh-huh.
And what was your agreement with Ms. Stevens?
The agreement was never for money. It was for 2 puppies.
No.
And that was in early September. That was the first time.
Yes. It was in July 2000.
In July. And that was the first time he used your dog as a stud?
That's correct.
Okay. Was that the only time or you did it again?
That's the only time.
Oh, this was the only time. So you just did it once with him?
Yes.
And what happened with the litter?
Well, the litter, every pup died.
Do you have any proof of that, sir?
Well, I don't at the time. I did have pictures because I owed another person a pup out of that litter, which he had paid in full.
How old were the puppies when they died?
They didn't live 3 days.
So they all died within 3 days?
Right.
Did you ever ascertain why?
Well, I kind of figured why. She had a litter at the time as well. Well, her litter was before mine, and that's how I met her.
I thought she only had the one male.
Well, yeah.
Your Honor, I have a female and a male that had a litter.
So you did have a litter of your own?
Of my own, yes. I'm sorry, of my own.
When was that?
Litter. That was in April of 2015.
What happened to that litter?
That litter...
Did they all die?
No.
How many?
The dog had 12 puppies.
And how many died?
9 of them died.
In what period of time?
They were 4 months old when they died.
You kept all 12 puppies for 4 months? You must have a couple of pictures to show me of that.
I do have some pictures.
I'd like to see the photographs of the 12 puppies at 4 months old.
And I also have a picture of Knight as well.
Well, these are pretty healthy-looking puppies. What are they, about 6 weeks old here?
Yes, or maybe a little older than that. Yes, ma'am.
Did you ever find out what happened to them?
Yes. They ended up having parvo.
So what did you do about that?
Well, I had...
And what did you do with the other 3 puppies?
The other 3 puppies were sold, and they're fine.
How much were they sold for?
The other 3 puppies were sold for $1,000.
All 3?
All 3.
When did you notify her that all the puppies in your litter died?
Well, I had 2 puppies that I purchased from her as a deal of helping her sell her pups.
No.
Explain that to me.
Well, when I met her, my brother took me to a house to look at pups. And the pups were maybe, like she say, 12 weeks old. You know, so I say, well, you know, you'll have these dogs for a while because they consider one on a dog. And that's saying, okay, once this dog gets your scent, you don't have to worry about them following anybody else around it or anything.
All I want to know is, did you purchase any puppies from her?
Yes, I purchased 2 for $400 a piece as a deal of helping her sell the other dogs.
Just a second. You purchased 2 from that litter?
Yes.
Do you still have them?
No.
What happened to those 2 puppies?
Well, they come up sick,
So I called her and let her know that the pups were sick. She come and got them and said that she was going to go take the dogs to get shots. After that, I didn't hear from her. I found out from someone else that the pups had died. So that's when I got in contact with her, and she confirmed that she had to put the pups down because they had parvo.
You're saying no. Did you take the puppies back from him?
I did take a puppy back. He did have 2 puppies. Yes, he did. One I took back because I had the puppies that was going to be sold through the internet.
Just
through
a second.
company.
He took 2 puppies.
Yes, ma'am.
How much did he pay you for the 2 puppies?
None.
He paid you nothing?
Nothing.
So you gave him 2 puppies for nothing?
He had 2 puppies. One he said he was selling to his neighbor. So he actually ended up giving me $200 for that one puppy.
Okay, and the other one?
The other one he kept. One I took back because it was being sold. The other one he said was for his neighbor, and he gave me $200. He gave me $200, and that money was actually refunded.
Refunded to whom?
To Mr. Stevens.
Why?
Because when the puppy died.
Oh, so the puppy died?
Yes, ma'am. The puppy died, and I gave the money back. For all individuals who had a puppy and that puppy did not make it, they received their monies back.
Okay. Now, why in the world would you want to use her dog as a stud to make puppies?
Well, I usually have my own male, and when I bought him, he was already close to 2 years old, so and like I said before, they want to own a dog. So it was a chance that he would bite everybody else in the household. So I ended up getting rid of him to avoid that. And so that's why I chose to breed with her dog.
Do you have any proof that any of the puppies in the litter that he had in July survived?
No. When I contacted him on various occasions in regards to our agreement, he never responded.
Okay, your agreement with him was, when you had a litter of puppies, that you were supposed to give him
$50 on a puppy.
What do you mean $50 on a puppy?
Never.
No.
Never.
Our agreement was that if he helped sell a puppy, he would get $50.
So there was no stud fee involved?
When he...
In April?
When he contacted... no,
in
not
April, was there a stud fee?
No, ma'am.
There was talk of no money but puppies?
Correct.
Okay. And what you're saying is that he agreed to give you $800 as a stud fee for your dog, and he says he agreed to give you 2 puppies?
No. There were no puppies that I asked for.
Listen, I don't know why. You said to me that you sold the 3 puppies that you had for $1,000 apiece. That means if he gave you 2 puppies out of a litter, you would have $2,000 instead of the $800 that you're suing for. But you had never actually exchanged any money with him, even in the previous litter.
What happened was that in the very beginning, he took 2 puppies with him. Yes. One of the puppies was for his neighbor. He gave me the $200 for that puppy, and he had one for himself.
It's not the truth.
What?
My mom's confused. She's nervous. Our dog had a litter.
Of 12 puppies.
Hold on, let me speak. You're nervous. Our dog had a litter of 12 puppies.
Who was the father of that litter?
Knight
is the father of the litter.
And who was the mother?
Our other dog, Ginger.
What did he have to do with that?
He had nothing at the time. A guy that goes to her church is brothers with this gentleman. He came to our house. The guy at the church came to our house. He said, I have a brother who knows about cane coursers. Can I bring him over? He brought this individual over to meet my mom. At that point, my mom had 12 puppies by herself. It was hard for her to take care of 12 puppies and work full-time at the hospital. This guy, it was agreement between them that he would take 2 puppies, and when he sold them 2 puppies, he would get $50 fee for helping her sell the puppies.
Never.
That was the agreement. Then in July, he used Knight with agreement $800 to stud his female.
Do you have a stud fee agreement?
I'll sit back down. Now you can speak, Mom.
No. You did fine. You did fine. You did fine.
Judge Judy Michael Stevens owes for an unpaid stud fee for her male cane corso.
So, do you have a stud fee agreement?
Did you have a stud fee agreement?
I'd like to see it.
There's not a stud fee agreement.
So there's not a stud fee agreement?
No, there's not a stud. It was verbally.
I'm asking you, was there anything in writing?
In text, yes.
I'd like to see it.
There you go, Mom. You would get so nervous. You weren't talking about them.
Hush.
I got you. Here's for everything. All you got to text it back and forth. Let me have it all over.
clearly you had a stud fee agreement with her for $800. Your text messages established that. You understand? Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $800. We're done.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Genetically, something had to be wrong with the dog.
Well, I have paperwork from the veterinarian that Knight is fine.
It had to be for...
I also have the papers from the Cane Corso Federation.
You know, both puppies to lose.
As to where it shows that Knight is full breed.
Complete litters.
As to where I can't speak that for his dogs either.
All the puppies died, so I figured there was no sense in paying anything if we both lost.
Well, I'm glad of the decision that she came to.
Well, just really be more careful who you breed with.
This has been very frustrating because when you trust people or you...
How old are you, Miss Mando?
I'm 30.
Miss Shama is in the process, according to what I've read, of a divorce with her husband. How long has that been going on, Miss Shama?
Since 2013, Your Honor.
And you have 2 children?
Twins, yes.
And the twins are the product of this marriage. They're 2.5.
That's right, Your Honor.
Do you share custody with your husband?
Yes, Your Honor.
How many days a week do you have him, and how many days does your husband have him?
I have them from Monday to Friday, and he has them from Friday 8 a.m. to Monday 8 a.m.
When were you hired to be a babysitter for the children?
I believe January the 18th, 2015.
Who were you hired by?
Maurice, her husband.
Not her?
No.
Did you ever go to Miss Shama's house?
Yes.
When?
I believe I went March the 11th to serve her papers.
Just a second. You went to serve her papers?
Mm-hmm.
Why?
We picked up the kid the 18th. Her son had a black eye, and so the father decided...
Just a second. You picked up the children in January.
Yes, ma'am.
And one of the children had a black eye.
Yes, Your Honor.
And?
And the father pretty much insisted to go to the hospital because it's...
Just a second. Do you remember that incident?
Yes, Your Honor, I do.
When your husband came to the house, did he come with her in January?
Yes, Your Honor.
To pick up the twins?
Yes.
And the little boy had a black eye?
No.
What did he have?
He had a little bruise under his cheek.
Did the father ask how he got that bruise?
Yes, Your Honor.
What did you tell him?
I told him that the girl twin threw a sippy cup and it landed on
Hit the boy with a sippy cup?
Yes, and Child Protective Service came and cleared that matter.
So the father asked the mother, how did the child have a bruise? Were you present when that question was asked?
Yes, I was present.
Just a second. I'm going to ask you some questions to make sure I get everything right. Do you understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
And the father at that time, in a custody dispute, decided to take the twins to the hospital to be examined. Is that right?
No, Your Honor.
That's what you just told me.
Well, at that time, it wasn't a custody dispute. He just wanted to make sure that nothing was wrong with his son because she failed to tell him why he had a black eye. We just picked the kids up at the McDonald's pickup location. It wasn't at their home at all.
Oh, I thought you said it was at the home in January when you served her with papers.
I served her.
Okay,
He asked me if I would been there. I said
good.
yes.
So now there's an exchange. The children were brought as they're supposed to be.
Yes.
On an exchange in January. And since I assume this is an ongoing matter, there's still an ongoing custody dispute because custody has not been finally awarded in the divorce decree, correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Right. Does he pay you support?
No, Your Honor.
Does he work?
Yes, Your Honor.
So were you with the children when they went to the hospital?
Yes.
And do you have that hospital report?
No, I don't. The father does.
So you called Child Protective Services?
No.
That's what you said.
I called Child Protective Services when I changed her daughter for the first time. This is what this is really about.
Just a second. So when you changed her daughter's diaper, is that what you're talking about?
Yes, Your Honor.
On what date?
I changed her daughter's diaper, I believe the 20th.
Of what?
January.
January 20th. Mm-hmm. How long had you been on the job?
Like a few days, because I was helping out the grandma. That's the original babysitter. It's the grandmother.
On what date did the children come to your house where you were babysitting? Was it on January 20th?
The 18th.
So they came on the 18th?
Yes.
You changed the diaper for the first time on the 20th.
Mm-hmm.
Prior to that, the father and the grandmother had been changing her diaper.
Yes, Your Honor.
So you called Child Protective Services because what did you observe?
It was a big, and the way that she opened her legs was just a little different, like something has happened to her. It was really concerning. So,
well, she had been in her father's custody.
No.
Just a second. She had been in her father's custody and her grandmother's custody since the 18th.
Right.
Before you called Child Protective Services, did you speak to the twins' father?
I was with the father.
That's not what I asked you. Before you called Child Protective Services, did you speak to the twins' father?
Yes, I did.
Did you tell him that you were going to call Child Protective Services?
Yes, I did.
Even though the child had been with the father?
No.
For the 2 days before? For the 2 days before, you changed the child for the first time, the child had been with her father. You discussed with the father calling Child Protective Services while this custody divorce is still pending. You called Child Protective Services on the father, because if you said to him, listen, I'm going to call Child Protective Services and I'm going to report that I see something wrong that's going on with this child, and he says to you, there's nothing wrong going on with the child. Is that what he told you?
No.
No, of course not.
He stated to me that he asked the mother why it was like that before, and she said, oh, it's nothing, you know. That's what she said. That's normally the answer for everything. You know, with the black eye, the bruises, the incidents, you know. The dad is a very concerned father, you know.
Who do you live with?
I live alone.
How many nights a week do you stay over at the father's house?
I used to stay at least 5, because he used to work third shift. So he would leave at 9 and return around 7 in the morning. So I was there majority of the time to help the grandmother, because she's a little old.
So you've been there for a while?
Yes.
You've been there for a while. More than just Friday to Monday?
No.
Friday, Saturday, Sunday, that's 3 nights that he has the children. Why were you there 5 nights?
No, this just happened. They was sharing custody. It was never a court order. This is new. Before the kids came to him on the 18th, she held the kids away from the father for a whole month. He didn't see his kids for a whole month. That's what I was saying. Like, this situation is
You sound more involved than just a babysitter.
But
you sound more involved than just a babysitter.
The kids love me. I mean, they're
You
great
seem
kids.
more involved than just a babysitter.
Yeah.
Yeah. Stuck your nose into a custody dispute.
It wasn't a custody dispute at that time.
Oh.
The dad filed a petition the first time. He divorced her because she decided...
Just a second. That sounds like you're a little more involved than a babysitter.
Yes.
I know what it sounds like, but that's the fact.
No, it's not a fact. What you're going to tell me is not a fact. What you're going to tell me is your perception. My perception is, from everything that's gone on here so far that you wrote, that you're more involved than a babysitter. Who served her with the custody papers? That would be an I did.
I served her.
That would be an I did. Did you ever hear of a process server? If you're just a babysitter? You want to be served with papers? I don't want to serve her. I'm taking care of the children. I don't want to have anything negative with this lady. The children stay with her. I don't want to have anything negative. I care about the children. Why in the world would I want to serve her custody papers and get involved with calling Child Protective Services on her? You're the father. You call Child Protective Services. Let your mother call Child Protective Services. Do you understand what I mean? You're a little too involved.
Her client's estranged wife, Imelda Shama, assaulted her with a coffee mug during a custody exchange. Imelda is countersuing, claiming it was Bandu who assaulted her.
Now, let's get to this incident, because what I have here is complaints and cross-complaints of assault. So, let's see what we got. We got a babysitter who, the first day she changes a diaper, calls Child Protective Services. Now there's a custody dispute. Father decides to let the babysitter serve the mother with papers. Then there's an exchange of the children at a neutral place in April of this year. The neutral place was?
McDonald's in Yorba Linda.
And you were in the car with your boss. For what reason, I don't know, because right now, if you had served me custody papers, I wouldn't be happy with you. If you would call Child Protective Services on me, I wouldn't be happy with you. But your boss, who sounds a bit of an idiot, brings you along in the car for this exchange. He must be incapable of taking care of twins who are 2.5 years old by himself, even for a car ride. Otherwise, the only reason to bring you is to give her the business. First of all, let's go back. Why were you in the car?
I was in a car because the father asked me to go with the mother and him so we could ride in the carpool lane.
Just a second. Yeah. You don't need 5 people to ride in the carpool lane anywhere. So now he's in the car with us. Who are you?
Oh, I'm a witness to the incident at McDonald's.
Who are you?
My name is Marie Carter.
Before this date in April, did you know her? Just answer the question, either yes or no.
Yes.
Okay. Keep going.
Okay. So I'm in the car. The mom and the father gets out of the car to take the kids, you know, so she wouldn't come to the car. But it was hot. So the father strapping the kids in the car. Before then, though, Imelda came to the car looking for a sippy cup. But this is normal. She started to disrespect me, you know, very vulgar language. And I was like, Imelda, the sippy cup is right there. Grab the sippy cup. And she got the cup and walked back to her car. But she's, you know, being very frisky, saying negative things out of her mouth that she normally does. I'm like, whatever, it's too hot for that. So I decide, you know, I want to go get something to drink. So I go inside of the McDonald's. The father is strapping on the passenger side. Then I see Imelda speaking to this lady. At first I didn't know who she was, you know. She say, there she goes. She's a husband in front of my kids. The lady was like, you know, because she's Jehovah's Witness. It's this church lady. She's like, oh my God, the kids are in a car, ma'am. And I said, you know, enough is enough. You know, you guys are raising your kids. I'm just a babysitter. That's it. So I was telling the kids bye. I was like, bye, see you guys when you come back. Imelda grabbed a ceramic coffee mug that's in her car. She throws it at me, and it gets all in my face. So I got upset.
Just a second. She's in her car?
Yeah, she's inside of her car.
Just a second. She's inside of her car, and she took a mug, and she threw it at you. Just a second.
It was right here
just
on
a second.
armrest.
You're not in the car.
No.
You're outside the car.
I was walking out.
Did you walk up?
I did. I walked up on the passenger side, not on the driver's side, which the lady was. And I told her, stop, Imelda, like, enough is enough.
Just
the kids
a
are in the
second.
car.
So you were talking to her through the passenger front window.
Yes.
And she picks up a cup and tosses it through the window at you. And you're standing up, I assume. You're not leaning into the car.
Yes, I'm standing.
You're standing up. What happened next?
After she threw the cup, I was like, stop. You know, I tried to hit her with my hands or whatever.
So you went into the car?
Yeah, the door. I opened the door.
You went into the car?
So I tried to hit her, but
you went into the car.
She grabbed my hoodie. At this time, my head is like this. She grabs, I guess she had more than one, because it was one brown one and 2 white ones. All I remember, I'm like this, and she's just hitting me in my head. And they're like, break it up. This is, you know, the kids are in a car. So the father, Mr. finally managed to get the cup out of her hand. So as I'm trying to defend myself, I guess somehow she had a busted lip. I don't know, but all I remember was I'm like this, trying to protect my face, and she's in the driver's seat just banging me. I was like shooken up, and she was like, I'm calling the police. I'm calling the police, or something like that. It was like, ma'am, you okay? Because I couldn't even walk right. She banged me in the head so many times. So I sat down for a while, and she just pad off.
You got to keep your nose out of other people's divorce business, and you're a little too entrenched as a babysitter with what's going on in this family. Now I'm going to get her version of the events, because quite frankly, I have to tell you, I have serious issues with yours, starting from the fact that you went there for this exchange. I don't care whether you always go. You shouldn't go. You're an irritant. You're an irritant. Don't you understand?
Hey, Constance, this is not even real marriage. This is for paperwork. She married him for paperwork. So this is the real story.
Who told you that?
He did. His family did.
Just a minute.
And so did she.
Don't you understand? You're too involved as a babysitter with their business. And now I don't know whether you're sleeping with the father.
No.
I have no idea. I do know you are too involved with their business, and you had hey, listen, and you had no business, and you have no business going there for an exchange of the children, because you've injected yourself into their legal proceedings. Bad enough she has to look at him when they exchange, she has to look at you when they exchange, and there's no valid reason for you to be there unless he's a total incompetent. If he's a total incompetent and can't ride with his twins in the car, he shouldn't have them at all. And so not only does he have you in the car, but he's got his mother in the car. And the excuse was he likes to drive in the HOV lane. Shh. Now, you want to tell me your version of the events of April 27th, please?
On the 27th of April, we had the usual exchange at McDonald's. My estranged husband came to my car and dropped the baby boy, and his mother strapped the baby girl. As I waited in the car, then I asked where was the cup for the baby girl. He says it's in the car. So at that time, while they're strapping the babies, I stepped out to go to the car to pick up the sippy cup. And then I looked up, I saw her in the back seat. So I said, hi, I took the cup and went back. And then he walks to the car. I don't know what he told her. And then the two of them came. My estranged husband came to the driver's side, and she came to the passenger side. She had a cup with ice. She threw the cup of ice water at me, and then he holds me back, and then she started attacking me. And then when she took the ceramic mug, hit my lip, I started bleeding. So at that point, I said, that's it, I'm driving to the police, and I got reports, and...
May I ask? Excuse me.
These are actually, the next day I went to prolong the restraining orders which were issued against her and him.
Were the restraining orders renewed?
Against him. But against her, I was informed I have to go to another court, because this is divorce court. So I just pursued my husband. I kind of forgot about her.
I think that you lost your temper, and I believe that what you were doing was screaming about her, about who she is, and the fact that she was sleeping with your husband, and that she's a... I think that as a result of that, she came over to the car and she assaulted you first by sticking her head into the car, and you did wallop her with a cup and she walloped you. And I think both of you behaved badly. I think you have no business being at an exchange of the children ever again. You're an irritant, and whether you're sleeping with him or not is not my business. Bad enough she thinks you are because of the things you have done. So, I am awarding you on your claim of assault that you want $5,000 for, the grand total of $1. And on your counterclaim, I am awarding you your counterclaim, which you seek $5,000, the grand total of $1, which now cancels itself out. And I would strongly advise you to think twice.
Bills,
I don't care whether you have $50,000 in medical bills. What I'm telling you is you have no business being an irritant when these two people exchange their children. That's all. We're neighbors. You each have a dog. Your dogs got into a fight. Each one sustained injuries. You are suing for the vet bills, and you're countersuing for your dog's vet bills.
Yes, ma'am.
That's what the case is about. Okay. Miss Disney, go over to the map. Show me where you live. Show me where your dog was. Show me where the fight took place.
Okay. I live here.
Mm-hmm.
And he lives here. This is 16, this is 20. What you can't see is a little...
Show me where the fight took place.
Actually, right behind my house. And it wasn't a fight. My dog was under control at all times. He had a collar.
Just a second. I just asked you to show me where the fight was.
Right there.
Behind your house?
Yes, ma'am.
Not on your property?
It was on my property.
So it is on your property?
Yes.
Is that correct?
No, ma'am.
Go over there and show me, sir, where the fight took place.
This is my unit number 20. This is their unit number 16. What happened was that their dog began to interact with my dog closer to the halfway point, and they took their interaction closer.
What do you mean? What does that mean, interact?
I mean, they began fighting with each other closer to the halfway point. I believe it was unit number 18 in the gravel area, and then they took
What was your dog doing anywhere near that?
Because my patio slab is right here, ma'am, and I just went outside to water my plants, and my dog
Okay, so you went outside
me.
to water your plants.
Yes,
your dog
ma'am.
came out. Your dog was not on a leash.
No, ma'am.
What kind of a dog do you have?
She's a mixed breed, Staffordshire Terrier, Rhodesian Ridgeback mix.
So a big dog.
Less than 50 pounds.
That's 50 pounds is a big dog.
Yes, ma'am.
Solid.
Yes, ma'am.
Great. So your dog was not under your control.
No, ma'am.
Okay. And that's where the fight started, sort of in the middle is what you're saying
Yes,
to
ma'am.
me? Where did it end up?
Closer to their patio slab.
Now you can go back. What kind of dog do you have?
I have a mutt. He's a half Shar-Pei, half wire-haired terrier.
Half what?
Half Shar-Pei, half wire-haired
Shar-Pei.
terrier.
I thought you said a half pig. I said half pig and...
No.
That's why raised my eyes. Okay, about how much does the dog weigh?
Somewhere around 45 to 50 pounds.
So they're around the same size.
Medium
What were you
sized
doing?
dogs.
Stop shaking your head or I'm going to put you outside. It's annoying. Do you understand?
Yes.
Great. Perfect. What were you doing outside?
We just gone for a walk around our community. It's about 1.5 miles. We came back out to sit on the patio to cool down. My dog was laying by my side on my patio pad, at which time, we were just trying to relax from the walk. It was kind of warm. My dog looked right. I looked right. I saw his pit bull running. I grabbed my dog's collar. He has a martingale collar, so he can't slip it. And my dog, in his defense, was trying to block the dog from hitting me, pulled me a few feet, blocked, and I was pulling my dog up in the air, and the dog latched onto the underbelly and hindquarter of my dog. He was never out of my control.
Okay. Did either of you file a report with the community?
They said that it was going to be
Don't tell me what they said. The question was, did either of you file a report with the community?
I tried to.
So the answer is no.
No, they wouldn't let me.
Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
So there are no other official reports about this. Is that correct?
I have a report from Animal Control.
I'll read it.
And it's just basically a warning.
I'd like to read it.
Which I was not present.
Just a second. I just want to read it.
I have the same paperwork, Your Honor.
Just make sure it's the same. What time did this happen?
In between 5:30 and 6-ish in the evening of Sunday, May 3rd.
May 3rd?
Yes, May 3rd.
And you called Animal Control when?
You know what? I was at the hospital. My witness, Eric, can tell you when that happened because I stayed at the hospital pretty much the whole time with my dog.
Is your witness a neighbor?
No, he's my fiance.
Oh, okay.
I was there during the incident.
Okay. Why don't you stand up? What's your last name?
Andrew?
Mr. Andrew, where had you gone for a walk on the 3rd?
I walked.
Had you gone for a walk?
No, we had just gotten back. We had been out that day. It was a Sunday. And we had just gotten back to the house. She was out back with the dog having a cigarette on the back porch. I was on the couch reading when all of a sudden I heard screaming and yelling. Rah, rah, rah. I heard the yelling and she was screaming hysterically. I ran out there. During that time, she had her hand on our dog's collar. He has that collar that she was
Where was she?
She was being dragged off.
Shh. Just stand right there.
Where
was she?
Being dragged off our patio.
But she was near your patio.
She was about 2 steps west of our patio.
Fine. Can I see your vet bills, Miss Disney?
Yes. And I also have a picture of my patio if you need to see it.
I don't need to see it. How's the dog?
He's doing well.
Back to normal?
He's still a little sketchy a bit right now still, but he's a really good dog. He's my companion animal. I have paperwork to show that he's a companion animal, so he's very well trained.
I see vet bills in the amount of $12.27.
That's correct.
Would you tell me why you're suing for $16.75?
Well, there was also medication.
You have the bills for that?
I do.
I'd like to see it.
Here's the bill, or actually, this just is the confidential patient information for my dog. Here's also something else. Would you like all the paperwork?
No, I don't. I just want the bills for the medication because I want to know where we get to $16.75 from $12.27. 119. Is that it?
No, there's also this one here for $28.50. I had to have a special nail trim done on him because he needed to be held in the right position so that it didn't rip open his stitches. And then also I just added $300 for gas because I had to make several trips to the hospital.
$12.27 plus $119.48.
Plus there was also pads and things I had to have the dog lay on because he was oozing.
$13.46.48. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $13.46.48. Your counterclaim's dismissed, sir. You keep control of you.
April Biddy is responsible for boarding costs after April Stallion came onto her property and injured her horses.
Well, this is not a very difficult case for me. There are two choices. Either I can suggest to the defendant that they now know that if their horse is found on your property again, this will be a second time that their horses were at large. And considering the first fine and 18 months probation for having a horse at large, to me, where do you come from?
North Carolina.
North Carolina is a pretty stiff sentence. They must have a very low crime rate there.
It's a stallion, Your Honor. It's
What?
dangerous. It's a stallion, Your Honor. It's dangerous to people, children, and livestock if it's running loose.
Sit down. Just for my own information, how long has this horse been on your property?
It's been there for 2 years, almost 3 years now, Your Honor.
Since what year?
2013.
When did you purchase your property?
March of 2014.
So I could suggest that they take their horse that's been there certainly longer than you purchased your property and have the horse medically altered, or say to you, go have your females taken care of. I'm not prepared to do either one of those things. My only issue is whether I think it's fair and appropriate for them to, in addition to have this substantial fine and 18 months probation, to be directed to horses being boarded someplace else. And you have the capability, just as they have, to keep your horses on your property because your horses were, according to you, at some point on their property, and nobody knows whether they were herded there by the stallion or because they were in heat, went there themselves. I don't know that. You don't know that. And unless we have a video or
Ma'am,
pictures...
I have a video of her horses on the property.
On your property. On the same date?
Correct. Before the charges were taken out. Yes.
I'd like to take a look at the video.
You can see my barn in the far left background there. I have stretched across over 1.5 acres of land since this incident.
Miss Foster, is that your property?
No, ma'am. Her horse ran my horses through the fence.
And I'm telling you that I don't know that. Those horses do not look to me as if they're afraid of anything. They're eating. So I don't know whether her horse ran your horses through or whether your horses, because they were in heat, came over. But right now, they don't look frightened.
And that is after they run through the fence.
Pictures of what the mares look like after her stallion raped them.
Listen to me. Don't speak out again. Don't speak out again. There's only one issue for me to deal with, because you've already had your day in court with regard to your criminal proceeding, where I assume you showed your pictures?
No, ma'am, it wasn't my day in court. It was the state of North Carolina's day in court.
Just a second. Did you show the pictures?
No, ma'am.
So what kind of evidence did they take? Did you testify?
Yes, I did.
And the prosecutor didn't ask you to show photographs? No? What evidence did you have to demonstrate that their horse forced your horses through the fence? I'm just curious. In my mind, you can't testify that that's what happened, but it's just as cogent an argument as 5 horses who were in heat went through a fence on their own to get to the stallion. Let's get to the issue. Issue is whether or not I think that they have to pay for your boarding the horses someplace else, or whether you ought to sell this property and move next to somebody who doesn't have horses that you don't like.
We have them for our property for sale.
Great, but they're not paying for your boarding, because I think that that's unreasonable.
Well, the curvature of the fence where they went through went out. The stallion was with them.
Ms. Foster, you have my answer. They're not responsible for your boarding costs. $234 is what they were ordered to pay in restitution.
Well, it was actually $273, but...
$273. The $273 was for what? In restitution. Restitution. Well, if your horse was injured as a result of that, did you tell that to the judge in the criminal case?
Yes, I did.
So the judge considered that in the criminal case.
The case wasn't about what happened to my horses. The case was the fact that she let her animal run at large.
No, Ms. Foster, the case was about injury to your horses because the judge awarded restitution. Correct. Restitution is what the judge found your damages were. And the judge found that your monetary damage was $273, not $5,000. Okay. Now, I have a counterclaim.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm going to handle it very, very fast. What do you think you're entitled to from Miss Foster, and why?
Your Honor, I'm asking for damages while trying to...
I just take it, took pictures, and I didn't.
Just a second. Hear how quiet they were? That's how quiet you have to be. Go.
Yes, ma'am. While Mr. Harris and his two cowboys were trying to load my horse to take him to have him castrated, they beat him with a whip trying to force him through a fence.
He is telling a lie. That is a lie.
Just a second. Do you understand?
Because
just a second. Shut. I want you to put him out, please.
Okay.
Right now. He goes out.
Sir,
and she's next. If you interfere with these proceedings, do you understand? Go ahead.
While they were trying to force him onto a trailer, they
Just a second. Where was the horse? On whose property?
He was on her property.
Well, if that horse was on their property, they can force him onto a trailer. They can do whatever they want with him because the horse is trespassing on their property. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am, I understand.
Your Honor, that never happened.
Does it sound like you're losing?
Ma'am.
I'm trying the counterclaim now. What else?
Ma'am, my point is that my horse would not have been on their property had their tree not taken my fence down.
Now, was that before or after this incident that had to do with the horses going through the fence?
The same day, ma'am.
When did you see the fence broken?
That would have been on the morning after this incident occurred.
What you're saying is you didn't see it until after this incident.
No,
and it's very possible, if at all, that they didn't see it until after this incident.
Because no, ma'am, they were very aware of it.
That's interesting. You know from somebody else's mind that they were very aware that their horses were potentially at risk from your stallion?
No, ma'am. They were aware there's a line of dead pine trees. And every time we have a storm or the wind blows, 2, sometimes 3 will fall.
And?
Well, when the Fosters purchased the property, originally our horses were roaming all the way up to this line. The Fosters had the property surveyed and they moved the property line down to here.
Is what you're telling me you were treating property that belonged to them as if it was your property for a period of time?
Yes, ma'am. I was under the impression it was our property.
It turned out not to be. Your counterclaim's dismissed. So is your complaint. That's all. You had your day in criminal court. Pretty stiff sentence for a one-shot offense. Find another place for your horses.
Seated, sir. Have a seat, please.
In this case, Mr. Madden
Yes.
alleges that the defendant attacked him with a club in his home.
Yes.
You were injured. You have hospital bills, doctor bills, etc. You've known the defendant a long time.
Yes.
How long?
Since she was a baby, actually.
And never had any difficulty with her?
No.
But just friends?
Yes.
So far correct?
Yeah.
Now, this incident happened in November of last year, is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you recall the exact date?
November 14th of 2014.
And it happened in your home?
Yes, ma'am.
In what room in your home?
In my bedroom.
At what time?
I would say in the early morning, about 9, 10 or so.
In the morning?
Yes, ma'am.
And I've read your answer, Miss Stegelman, and your answer suggests that you were, in fact, in his house. You went to his house to confront him on the 14th of November of 2014. You went to confront him about some rumors that he had been spreading about you. That's what it says.
Yeah, kind of.
What do you mean, yes? Just a minute. Yes, kind of. You went to his house.
Yes,
on
I
the
did, to
14th
confront
of
him.
November, 2014. He had not invited you. Is that right?
It wasn't the 14th of November. It was actually the day after.
15th.
No, it was. That was the day my friend died. Was on the 14th. The funeral wasn't until the 20th, so it was probably the 21st.
Okay. Well, he has medical records. What do your medical records show, sir?
That's my. It is the 24th.
24th,
Yes,
not the
ma'am.
14th. Okay. So it was the 24th. Now, you weren't invited to his house the morning of the 24th by him. Is that correct?
No.
Did you have a key to his house?
Of course not.
How did you get into his house?
Came over and knocked on the door.
Hey, look at me.
Oh, knocked on the door.
That had a question mark at the end.
Oh, well, I don't.
You
knocked
went
on the
over
door.
to his house in the morning.
Correct. It wasn't even morning. It was afternoon. But he's such a lazy.
Afternoon. You went over in the afternoon. And how did you gain access to the house?
I'm sure somebody answered the door.
Not
Dave,
I'm sure. Not I'm sure.
I
Listen-
don't recall, but I knocked on the door. I don't just have I don't walk in people's houses.
Listen to me. If you don't remember then he's going to tell me what he remembers, and I am going to take what he remembers.
Well, I can tell you.
Just listen to me. And I'm going to take what he remembers as the truth of the case if you don't remember what happened in this case where he was, in fact, injured at your hand. The circumstances around it, we're going to try to find out today. You get it?
I get it. I'm sure probably Dave did. Because he wouldn't have gotten out of bed.
Just a second. So the answer is you don't know.
I went there with a friend. I don't know. I don't think it's...
Fine. Then, Mr. Madden, I come back to you. Do you know how the defendant gained access to your home?
No, I do not.
Did you invite her?
No, ma'am.
Do you live with anyone?
Yes, Your Honor.
With whom?
Mr. Dittman here.
Would you step up, please? Your last name is?
Dittman.
You've lived together for how long?
I own the house.
You own the house.
And I rent out the basement to him.
Great. So he lives in the basement?
Yes.
Did you answer the door for the defendant on the 24th?
Okay. I have a tri-level house, and I was upstairs on the sofa. I heard the doorbell or a knock at the door, and I said, yeah, come on in, because I usually do that. I did not personally go down and open the door.
So the door must have been open?
I don't lock the house.
Okay. You heard the doorbell ring, and then...
I said, come on in.
Did you know who it was?
Yes. The sound of her voice.
Okay, so you said, come on in.
Yes.
Had you admitted her to the house before?
Yes, she has been over there before.
Not to visit you, to visit him?
Actually, another roommate that I had staying at my house at that time that ended up dying, as we'll may get into it.
Oh, I hope not.
Yes,
he had a heart attack.
Yes.
So she came that day on the 24th. You gave her entrance.
Yes, and there was another male companion with her.
Oh, did you know that person?
I'd met him before.
Do you know
his
his
name? And I didn't know until he came upstairs to my living room, and she did not come upstairs.
So the man that she was with came up to see you?
Yes.
But she went downstairs?
She went straight downstairs.
Very good. You didn't see what happened downstairs?
No, I just heard some yelling and cussing. And
who was cussing? Was it a male voice or a female?
Female voice.
Female voice. Did you hear what she was saying?
Can't mention some of it, but it was directed toward Bill.
Well, you have to tell me what it is. I've heard everything.
You fat pig and all this, blah, blah, blah. And he was over yelling at the same time that, due to his injury. And she stormed out of the bedroom. I didn't see it, but she wasn't down there very long, and ran outside, still screaming obscenities. Her male companion joined her there in the hallway, and as they went out to the car, still screaming, she was obscenities toward Bill.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, sir, so now she goes down to your bedroom, and what happened in your bedroom?
I was asleep and woke to her coming to my room and just striking me on the head and running out the door.
Well, she said something because he said that there were things...
There were some cursive words, profanities, and I was struck in the head at the time and bleeding all over the place.
Do you know what this was about?
She was, I don't know by who, accused of taking some money from the house.
From the person who died in the house?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so someone accused her of taking money from the person who died in the house who had a heart attack, according to your landlord. And Ms. Stagelman, were you under the impression that it was Mr. Madden who had accused you of taking money from this person?
I'm under the impression he took the money and then he accused me of taking the money.
Okay, so, and you heard, I'm speaking, and you heard that?
Yeah.
Great. Now I want you to tell me what happened when you went over to the house, and I want you to tell me the name of the person that you were with that day.
It was just his name was Harold.
I want to know his name, every first name and last name. Harold
Jr. or something.
And can you tell me why he went over there with you that day?
It was the day after the funeral. He was just being a friend, supportive friend. I was kind of a wreck, and I walked into a funeral kind of blindsided by, I heard that there was a rumor going around that I stole the money off. I was really grieving for my dead friend, you know what I mean? Because he was my friend. I would never
I want to know what you brought Junior with you for.
He was just with me that day. He drove me. I don't know. I wanted to confront Bill about the rumor.
How did he get injured?
I hit him
with what?
A bat.
Where did you get the bat from?
It was right in the hallway, and he was awake. I'm sorry.
The bat was in what hallway?
Right before his room. It was Steve's.
Just a second.
A friend that died.
It was the person who died. It was their bat. So before you walked into the bedroom, you had the bat.
No, not before. Or, well, right before, yeah, of course. Well, he was awake, though.
No. Before you walked into the bedroom, you had the bat.
Yes, I picked it up. I didn't know what I was going to do when I went there.
And you...
I did, so...
Crystal Stagelman repeatedly hit him in the head with a bat. Crystal claims she was defending herself.
Okay, so you walked into the room with the bat and...
And I said, hey, whatever, you gotta freaking... he goes and sits up and...
Listen to what you did. Don't tell me I should look at anywhere.
I said, hey...
Yes.
And he was starting to come at me, and so I freaking swung at him.
Good. Can I see your medical bills, please?
Yes, ma'am.
Something wrong with you. I don't know why you didn't have her arrested. Why didn't you have her arrested?
Because I would have had a woman take from her children in her Christmas.
She has children?
Yes, ma'am.
She has children? How
Yes,
many
ma'am.
children does she have?
2 that I know of.
How old are they?
I'm not sure. I know the one is got to be in her teens.
Your children live with you? How old are they?
9 and 15.
Who else lives with you?
No one.
Shh. Children might be better off.
I understand.
Do you understand that?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. I just want you to understand that.
Yes, ma'am.
You know, everything is a mother. Guppies are mothers. Cats are mothers. Gerbils are mothers. Judgment for the plaintiff.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Anderson versus Wilson. Step forward.
25-year-old Shakoya Anderson is suing her former landlord, LaTanya Wilson, for disposing of her property, the return of rent, and a false restraining order.
Miss Anderson, you rented a room from the defendant. How did you know her?
Through my children's father, Your Honor.
How long had you known her before you rented a room from her?
It's been a couple of years.
And you were paying her $200 a month rent?
Yes, Your Honor.
When did you start paying her rent?
In February.
February of this year?
Yes, Your Honor.
And is that when you moved in?
Yes, Your Honor.
When did you move out?
May 12th of 2015.
And you paid May's rent?
Yes.
Tell me why you moved out on the 12th after having paid the rent.
Because it was an incident that occurred dealing with a lot of drama, hearsay. And she made a phone call to my cell phone stating that I needed to come get my kids and my belongings.
You remember that conversation?
Yes, I remember that conversation. And the reason why that she was asked to move is because they constantly was fighting.
Just a second. You told her to move in the middle of the month, and she had already paid rent for that month. And now you're going to tell me that you told her to move because she was having a fight with her boyfriend.
No.
With whom?
The police was called. They was outside. It was 3
Who's
to 4.
they?
I'm trying to explain to you. It's more like when her and her baby daddy was outside fighting, it happened 2 times. When he came to my home, he verbally assaulted me. He was disrespecting me. And if he was doing the most and she was standing there, he can do whatever he wants to do to her, but he can't do it to me.
You're absolutely right. You have to give her her rent back.
And
you have to give her rent back. Okay,
why?
so that's
the
why?
police told her, and the judge also told her too. I went to court once before, and the judge told her to stay as far away from me as she could.
Perfect.
And I also
that's perfect. That's all fine.
But
I'm listening to what you say. You took her rent. You told her to get out. You got a temporary restraining order against her that was ultimately denied.
It was never denied, ma'am.
You have a permanent restraining order?
No.
Shh. Hey, do you have a permanent restraining order against her for a year? The answer is either a yes or a no.
That's because the judge told me to take it off of her and put it on her baby daddy.
Are you not hearing me?
I hear you 100%.
Well, but then you're not paying attention. You may hear me, but you're not paying attention. You do not have a permanent restraining order against her. She was your tenant. The fact that the person who fathered her child is a disrespectful clown, I'm perfectly sympathetic about. You have to return her rent. Now, in addition to her rent, she says that you disposed of her property. Did you dispose of her property?
Ask her when did she call me to ask me can she get her stuff.
I'm asking you a question. That's either
I didn't
a
have
yes
no choice
or
but
a
to
no.
remove it. I had police surrounding my house.
The question is, did you dispose of her property?
I got rid of her stuff that was in my house.
Fine.
Because she'd been in my house, in and out of my house ever since that time. And she can call me and text me and ask me for rent money, but she could never tell me can she come and get her stuff. I never had a problem with Koya. Never.
Judgment for the plaintiff.
She
and
can
you
have
not
it.
requested $5,000. You're going to learn to keep your mouth shut.
Parties are excused and they step out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Seated.
Who was walking the dog?
I was.
You have a German dog near your home?
Yeah, I was walking him down that street.
Would you go over to the...
Yeah. I was walking him down this street, and when I was about to cross the crosswalk, and then I saw two pit bulls running towards us from this house right here.
From that house?
Yeah.
Okay. Have you seen those two dogs before?
No.
How long have you lived in your house?
For as long as I can remember, really.
And how far away is your house?
It's the next street over.
So you were about to cross Celeste Court?
Yeah.
And your dog was leashed?
Yes.
Now, you saw into the cul-de-sac, and you saw two dogs.
Yes.
Describe them to me.
Two tan pit bulls, off leash, no collar.
One of them is not.
Don't speak. You'll have your turn.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Yeah, they were charging at us, you know, and the bigger pit bull went for my dog's throat. And while that was happening, I saw two males running towards us, telling us to stop, telling them to stop and everything. And
were either one of you can step back now. Were either one of the two men who came running towards you the defendant?
Yes.
Who was with him?
Another male. I think it was his brother or something.
Okay. Mr. Shabab, do you live in that house?
Yes, I do.
How long have you lived there?
I've been living there for most of my life, since I was 4 years old.
Now, whose dogs are these?
Well...
No, don't look down. I'm asking you a question. Who is the owner of the dogs?
That'll be me.
Both dogs?
Yes.
When did you purchase them?
I didn't purchase them. Someone had gave away the dogs because they didn't have room for it, so I took...
This incident happened on May 28th. Who gave you the dogs? The name of the person?
I don't recall the person's name. However, I came over there with a friend to pick up... They had a bunch of puppies. He took most of the puppies to sell them, and I took him so I can keep him.
You took who so you could keep him?
The dog, Yabu. It's my dog.
Did you get that dog as a full-grown dog or as a puppy?
No, he was a little puppy. He was only
It's a
like
puppy.
5 weeks old.
When did you get him?
I got him about last year, around March.
Who does the other dog belong to?
That's his son, and he's blonde.
So you bred a dog and you kept a pick of litter?
Yes.
With what other dog?
His wife. Well, the other dog we own. We just consider his wife.
How many pit bulls?
Right now, they just had more kids.
Would you tell me how many pit bulls you have?
Currently?
Currently.
Okay, well, right now, I have 9.
9?
Yeah, well, 6 of them are babies. They're like this small right now.
And 3 adults?
Well, the other one, he's not even a year old yet.
Okay, continue.
So I was walking my dad down the street.
I got it. I got his 2 dogs, came out of his house. You say that they were unleashed and came running towards your dog, took your dog by the throat. The defendant and 1 other male came out running from the house, telling him to stop.
Yeah. By that time, my dog had wiggled out of the throat, the bite on his throat, and the pit bull got him at his stomach, and his jaw really locked in there. So I didn't want to pull my dog away because I didn't want to worsen his injuries. And then finally, you know, the defendant got his dog off my dog, and I was...
How did he do that?
From what I remember, he was like punching him and hitting him, telling him to stop and get off and everything.
True.
But it wasn't working until like he finally pulled him off.
What was the other person doing?
I think he was holding back the other dog. It was really a blur.
Holding back the other dog?
Yeah.
How was he holding back the other dog?
Like he was making sure the other dog didn't get involved.
So it was just 1 dog that got involved?
Yeah.
And what color was that dog?
I guess blonde by what he's telling me.
No, not you guess from what he's telling you. Do you remember what color the dog was that attacked your dog?
The one that attacked my dog was tan.
So the other dog didn't attack your dog?
No.
Okay. Did you take your dog to the vet?
Yeah, I ran immediately home, called my dad, let him know what happened, and rushed my dog to the vet.
Okay. Now I'd like to see the vet bill. And photographs of the dog. And I'd like you to go back one more time and show me exactly where the attack took place.
So I was walking my dog down this street, and we stopped right here. There was a fire hydrant right here. And then I saw the two dogs running from this house across the street, and they attacked my dog.
Okay, sir, now I'm going to listen to your version of the events.
Okay, well, on May 28th, I walked my dog at 10 a.m., and as I'm coming home, which is that court right there, we get stopped by her dog. Her dog starts barking. She lost control of her dog.
That's not true.
Her dog ran towards my dog, and she bit my dog in the face. And as I'm pulling my dog off, her dog bit my finger. And after the incident, she runs off with the dog. I wanted her name, her vet, to pay off my vet bill as well, and her number, but she just ran off. But as I'm going to work, then she comes at my door, and she says, was that your dog? I said, yes, that was my dog. And she said, well, you're going to have to pay for my vet bill. And I said, well, likewise, you have to do the same. And later that day, instead of getting a call from her or she coming back again, this animal control officer comes at my door. He picks up whatever statement I had said. He said later that day...
Don't tell me what he said.
Okay.
Was your dog quarantined?
Yes, for 10 days.
Did you get a fine?
Yes, I did. I have the bill right here.
I'd like to see the fine and what the fine was for.
Also, the vet bill is on this as well.
No, I want to see the fine. What were you fined for?
I was fined because, okay, well, yeah, it's this one, that's the receipt. All right. So what happened?
What were you fined for?
Okay, because the officer, he comes in, he takes the pictures of my dog's injuries.
I just want to ask you what you were fined for.
Okay, he took her side of the story, and he fined me instead of her. As you can see on the bill, I went to the vet the next day to reimburse my dog. And the strange thing is, when he came at my door, he took pictures of my dog's injuries, which I have right here. And he didn't take a picture of my finger that day when it was injured. I haven't heard from him. And then 5 days later, he comes at my door and he harasses me.
File a complaint. That has nothing to do with me. Would you please show me the ticket that you paid?
The quarantine bill. It's all I paid. And as you can see, licensed quarantine.
Okay. Now I'd like to see pictures of your dog.
You need the injuries as well?
I want to see pictures of the injury.
Okay. Right here.
Who was with you that day?
Okay, well, that day...
Who was with you that day?
My brother.
Where is he?
He's in Afghanistan. He's with the rest of my family because of my sister's wedding.
Okay. Now, is the animal control officer that he's referring to related to you?
No.
And who did you call, the police?
I went to the police department, and they dispatched him.
Did you file a report, and do you have a copy of that
report?
Yes, I do. I'd like to see it. You have a copy of your police report?
Yes, I do.
I'd like to see it.
Right here.
Well, your neighbor says that your two dogs were there and both off the leash. That's what your neighbor told the police.
Yeah, well,
that's what. Yeah, what? That's what your neighbor told the police. And you told the police that there was only one dog that you were walking.
Yeah,
this neighbor says that there were 3 dogs fighting near the fire hydrant. I'm speaking.
Okay.
That's why they gave you a ticket, and that's why they quarantined your dog. The witness, who's your neighbor, said she went to her front window and saw that there were 3 dogs out fighting near a fire hydrant at the intersection of Regents and Celeste Court. Stated a female was holding her German Shepherd on the leash, and the other 2 dogs were tan pit bulls. She saw that the 2 tan pit bulls did not have a leash on them and that 2 males ran after them and pulled them back home. She stated it looked like the big pit bull was the aggressive one. Okay, and then the police officer went back to you.
Yeah, 5 days later.
I'm speaking. I gave you a chance to tell your fairy tale. Now I'm speaking. No. Then the next day, the officer went back and spoke to you and said, well, I have your neighbor who's a witness who said that your 2 dogs were out there. And then you said, he said, I spoke to the subject who recanted his previous statement and provided me with a new statement.
Okay,
he stated that on 5/28 at 1100 hours, he was walking his dog Yabu on a leash. He said when he got to the front of his house, he let go of his dog and went to get food for his dog. And he said that Yabu ran out into the street and ran up to Raku.
Okay.
And then you go on.
Yabu? I mean,
Yabu.
Your Honor?
Yeah.
Okay, 5 days later, the police comes in at the door. He said, tell me the real story of what happened.
I mean, the real story. Well, your neighbor told you the real story. Your neighbor told the police the real story.
Okay, well, where's my neighbor?
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $3,009.
And what about my countersuit, ma'am?
It's dismissed. Thank you.
And you may be seated. Have a seat, please.
I'm really not good with these convoluted car deals, but let me see if I can try to explain it to Officer Byrd, and you'll tell me where I'm off.
Yes.
You had a car or a truck. Defendant was a friend of yours. You
Correct.
sold him the truck.
Correct.
For $8,000, and we'll call that Truck A.
Yeah.
He paid you $6,500.
Yes.
So far, correct?
$6,900.
So you have proof that you paid him $6,900.
I have proof of $6,631, but it was $6,900.
Well, if you only have proof, he said it was
Okay, fine.
$6,500. Do you have proof that it was any?
That he paid me more, less? No.
Well, he says he paid you $6,600.
I got the registration
He has proof
payment.
that he paid $6,600. So let's say he paid you $6,600.
Yeah.
But then he didn't have the rest. And he said to you, I have a truck. Can I give you the truck? That would be Truck B in satisfaction of the full $8,000. And you said, okay. And he gives you the truck. And when you go to register the truck, you find that there is a $900 some sort of lien against the truck.
Mm-hmm.
What is the lien for?
It was salvaged. He was there when I got it salvaged, too. But there was salvaged.
I don't know what. There's a $900 something against the truck.
There was a salvage title on the truck, which means it has to go through a brake and light inspection, and it needs to be smogged. That's about it.
So what's this $900?
The $900 is what he owed me for that pickup because of the registration fee that I had to pay over for his vehicle. His was out of registration, and he also had my truck, the new Dodge, impounded. So I had to get it out of impound. That was the fee that makes it $900.
When you bought Truck A from him, you were supposed to pay him $8,000.
Yes.
Cash money.
Mm-hmm.
You did not.
Mm-hmm.
According to you, you can only prove that you paid him $6,600.
Yes.
So you still owe him $1,400. Let's deal with that little bit first.
Okay.
You didn't pay him the $1,400.
Mm-hmm.
So you still owe him the $1,400.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, forget Truck B. When did you purchase Truck A? Month and year?
February.
February of this year?
Yeah.
Okay, good. That's all. And on what date did you give him the money?
That day.
Give
I
me
was
the
even
date.
before that, actually. Sorry.
Month and year
February.
of 2015.
Sure. Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
So now we have on plaintiff's side $1,400. Now we're going to go to Truck B. Who has current possession of Truck B? You do. So you have Truck B back.
Mm-hmm.
So now you owe him $1,400. That's just simple. I don't have to worry about title, $1,400. So on your side, you have $1,400. Now we're going to deal with the second half of this case, which has to do with assault.
Yes.
Which took place when?
Beginning of August.
Of this year?
2015, yes.
Was this all over the truck?
This was over the truck, his ex-girlfriend, and things of that nature.
Well,
he's a bit of a hothead. I mean, he's got... Yeah.
Where did it take place?
It took place in my front yard at my house.
So he came to your house?
Yes.
So far, is that correct, that you came to his house?
Yes.
What time?
It was 10 o'clock-ish, maybe.
In the morning or in the evening?
In the morning.
Were you invited over to his house?
No.
What did you go over there for?
A payment for the black truck, the $900 he owed me.
But you owe him $1,400.
No, the truck was taking the place of that. He had the truck at that time. He still owed me $900. Remember, we traded for the $2,000 off of the $8,000?
No, we didn't talk about $2,000. We talked about in satisfaction of the $8,000. So let me simplify this.
Okay.
You went over there because you thought he owed you money.
Well, he did.
No, not he did. You went over there because you thought he owed you money.
Okay.
And what happened?
I said I needed payment on the truck, and he told me that he'd pay me the next day. And I said, good, otherwise I'm going to have to take my truck back. It's been a while since he's paid me anything. He was driving my truck unlicensed. He was driving it uninsured. Well, actually, I kept it insured for him because I didn't want to get it tickets. And then he was driving over the Golden Gate Bridge, getting tickets that were getting delivered to me that I have to pay. So I don't know what else to do then, you know?
Shh. Well, it could have been very simple. All you had to do was pay him his $1,400.
No, all he had to do was pay me the $900.
No, listen to me.
Okay.
Listen to me. The deal was you owed him the money for the initial purchase of Truck A. You didn't pay the money for Truck A. It was subsequent to purchasing Truck A that you made this other agreement with regard to your truck. But there would have been no other agreement if you had paid him the balance of what you owed on the truck.
I paid him everything on that truck.
No, you didn't.
I didn't?
No, you didn't.
It's signed right
Even
here.
according to you, you didn't. According to you, you paid him $6,600 and the purchase price was $8,000.
Okay, the Chevy truck that he was buying from me, he owed me $2,000 for that.
Was that done at the same time?
Yes.
It was done at the same
Yes.
time. Is that correct?
No, it's not correct exactly. He originally was going to sell it to me for $1,500.
No, no, no.
Now
All I asked you was it at the same time?
It was at the same time, yes.
Okay, so it was a $6,600 payment, and you were going to buy the truck from him.
In lieu of the last payment he owed me,
In
yes.
lieu-
The $1,500.
Okay, so you go over to his house. Now we're dealing with the assault, because you have your truck back. Now we're dealing with the assault. So you go over to his house and you say, I need some money and I'm getting tickets, whatever. What's the next thing that happens?
After I told him that I was going to take my truck back, he got all huffy and puffy and tough, and he's trying to start a fight with me.
No, I want you to tell me what he did.
He was dancing around with his fist up around me, like he wanted to fight me.
And?
And we fought.
Just a minute. No. Dancing around you with his fists up, and what happened next?
He swung at me, and we...
Hit you, and?
I don't know. We fought. I defended myself.
So you hit him?
I don't think I did. I put him in a headlock, and threw him on the ground, and finished it like that.
Okay. You want to tell me your version of what happened?
Yeah, I woke up in the morning to a knock on my wall. I went out to see who it was. It was Mike. And at that point, he's telling me how he's going to take my truck and all this stuff. And I'm like, what are you talking about? I don't owe you any money. I didn't buy your truck. I ended up with your truck because you owed me money. And he gets mad for whatever reason. And, he attacks me. Long story short, he assaulted me.
No, that's the conclusion. What happened?
And what ended up happening was I got a scratch to my cornea. He ended up scratching my cornea.
So he's angry, and what's the next thing that happened?
He becomes aggressive and...
No, becomes aggressive is a conclusion. What's the next thing that happened?
He attacked me.
No, that's a conclusion.
Okay.
Somebody takes their fist, hits you in the face. Someone takes their foot, kicks you in the shins. Someone takes out a knife and stabs you in the ear.
He put his hands up like he was going to swing and hit me.
Yes.
So I took a step back and I tripped over a bike. So there's a bike behind me, so I fell on the bike. Then he jumps on me and
Just a second.
Proceeded to hit me.
Okay, so you fell.
Yeah, I tripped on a bike, yes.
Do you remember that?
No, I don't remember any bike or anything like that.
I don't remember either. Actually, can I see both of your medical records?
Yes. Here's my emergency.
I'm waiting for yours.
I don't have any medical records. I had no problem with what happened.
What's that? Give us something else.
On what day did you go over there to discuss the truck with him?
I don't exactly remember the date on that day.
What was the date?
I believe it was the beginning of August.
You believe it was the beginning of August? You have a police report?
I
is
do.
not an answer.
Let me pull that up so you get the information. It was the beginning of September. I'm sorry.
There's no police report, Your Honor.
What?
I never saw a police report. Oh.
I'd like to see it.
It was the beginning of September.
I'd like to see it.
It's an incident report.
Shh.
Oh, I'm sorry. That was when you took the truck.
It's not the fight.
So it was the beginning of August. Yes.
Can I have the date, please?
That's when he took the truck. I don't have a police report when he attacked me.
You don't?
No, I don't.
What was the date?
That was the beginning of August.
The beginning of August is not a date.
August 2nd, roughly. In the 2015.
Okay. Well, this emergency room treatment is in July.
That's right.
Okay. You owe him $1,400. You have your truck back. So you owe him $1,400 from the initial truck sale. I'm making a ruling now. I'm done with you. Now, you have a counterclaim. The other part of your counterclaim has to do with toll charges that he accumulated that you must have paid for because it was your truck while he was in possession of the truck. He was in possession of the truck until what month and year?
Oh, let's see. He was in possession of the truck from
August
7/15. That's the day we both went to DMV and we both made the trades for the vehicles.
7 of 2015.
15, yes.
Until what date?
Until now. Well, no, he doesn't have the possession. That day was right
you
here.
You have possession of your own.
It was 8/24.
8/24
yes.
is when you got it back.
Yes.
From 7/15 to 8/24. May I see the... Shh.
Yeah.
I just want to see the notices that you got of tickets
Okay.
from July 15th to August 24th.
Are the tickets you want to see?
Yes, the
Okay.
tickets.
I have a.
That's it.
I could.
Those are the tickets in that envelope.
I don't care about this. I just want to see the tickets. Did you pay these tickets?
Yes.
Good.
Your Honor.
About the tickets?
I have more tickets that were given to me. I have like 5 or 6 here from going across the bridge.
Just a second. The date was July 25th, and the toll was $7.25. $7.25, and that's when you had possession of the car. And I don't know what this is. I have no idea.
That shows the day that he went down to put a stop on the registration hold. And that also shows the date.
I don't care.
Oh, okay.
Judge Judy continues in a frenzy, says former friend Michael Robertson owes for a truck, medical bills, and an assault. Michael is and for his damages resulting from their fight.
All I asked you for was tickets,
Okay.
which I have, $7.25.
There's more, but...
Just a second. Just
Okay.
show me.
Okay. Well, those are the ones that I have proof on, and then I got the credit card I used with, and it was actually more than $7 because they got late fees on them.
Listen, show me a canceled check with regard to those tickets.
Canceled? Okay. I'm looking for them. Hold on. I can't find them.
Good. Judgment
Sorry.
for the plaintiff on his claim in the amount of $1,400 on the counterclaim. Mr. Robinson is awarded $7.25. Thank you. We're done.
But there's more. I have bridge.
Have a seat.
Mr. Miller, you've known the defendant, according to the complaint that I've read, for almost a quarter of a century.
Yes, ma'am.
And you shared a premises with him for how long?
3.5 years.
Was it a leased premises, or did one of you own it?
He owned the house.
So you were a tenant of his?
Yeah.
How much rent did you pay him?
Me and my brother both paid $500 a month together.
Did you and your brother share a room?
Yes.
Okay. It is your claim that the defendant damaged your property, took property that didn't belong to him, that belonged to you, that you were arrested wrongfully, and you want him to be responsible for the bail money that was used to bail you out of jail, and unpaid wages. Did you work for him as well?
Yeah, I did, but it was due to that his roof was leaking and we didn't want it to start a fire. So that's just pretty much what we did. We put 2 flat roofs on for him, and he promised to pay me when he sold the house and moved to California.
Did he ever sell the house?
No.
Well, then he doesn't owe you any money for that, because the event hasn't happened yet.
Yeah.
Good.
Correct.
Now, you had an argument with the defendant on the 27th of May. What was the argument
It
about?
was over the internet being cut off. I pay for the internet, and I caught him doing appropriate stuff on it, and I didn't want it on my name.
Okay. So you cut off the internet.
Plus, he came up because I cut the internet off because I caught him with the lewd conduct. So I cut the internet off, but it was like that month I had to go down and renegotiate my contract with Comcast, the cable company. So it didn't matter, but I told him we'll still have the cable and he can still have cable. I didn't cut the cable off because I paid for cable and internet.
So what happened? I mean, this...
So he come up and he said he's going to raise the rent, and we said, no, you're not. We're going to get out and we'll leave.
Okay.
And then he come up to the room demanding I give him the phone number, and I told him, you can go get
Phone
you can
number
get the
for what?
for the internet. I go, you can go
This
call.
all happened the same day?
Yeah.
Okay. Go
And
ahead.
I go, you can go get the phone number yourself and call him. If you want the internet, pay for it. And it wasn't included in the rent at all. So he came up the next day saying he's going to raise the rent. And I said, no, you're not. We're going to move out. We'll get out. Because we're already paying way too much for just renting a room. The average room rental is like $300 in Minnesota.
Okay. So you told him you were going to move out, and what happened then?
He started playing a lot of games with us, and he came up and he said that we sabotaged the garage door.
This was all the same day?
No, this is like a few days later when he went out and changed the code on his garage, and he couldn't figure out what he did. And nobody sabotaged nothing on his garage door.
So he came after that?
That would be on the 27th he came up, and that's when I got arrested. And I told him, no, we didn't.
it's not my problem, get out of the room, because we were up in the room.
Okay.
And I got up, I went to go shut the door on him. He charged in at me and started shouldering me in my own room. So I took him and I pushed him back out, slammed the door, and I dialed 911. He didn't even get to dial 911. I called first. Then when the cops came, they arrested me because he claimed that the assault happened. He said I threw him down 7 steps, and I got pictures right here of the stairs because I fell down those stairs a month before, and there's no handrails up there. If I was to have pushed him down the stairs, he would have went completely down the stairs, just like I did. I had to go to the ER because I was bruised up and I had scrapes on me. And I got knocked out at the bottom of the stairs.
So, Mr. Miller, what I'm trying to get at is what you're suing him for.
I'm suing him for the damages because I tried and I tried and I tried to get my property from him.
What property, sir?
Everything pretty much that we had in there. I got a whole list of everything he damaged or stole.
Where is his property, sir?
Property was in a pod in front of my house, and the Miller brothers came finally 5 months to the day after they were arrested to get it with a sheriff in a civil standby, as they were ordered by several judges in court, which I have in writing and which they were informed.
You're claiming that their property was in a storage pod and they came and got it?
Yes.
Do you have any of their property?
No.
Now, Mr. Miller, the defendant was granted a 2-year final or permanent order of protection.
Yep.
That was either after a trial for a judge with your consent, or it was made as part of a plea negotiation to dismiss the criminal assault charge if you would consent to a protective order. Do you understand?
I understand fully.
You want to tell me which door was it? Door number 1? Door number 2 or door number 3?
What about door number 4? They dropped all charges.
No, just a second. Does Mr. Utera have a final order of protection against you for 2 years?
He does.
Who gave it to him?
The courts did.
Was that after a trial or was it on your consent?
Nope, neither one.
It's not possible.
It is in Minnesota.
It is.
It is. I was served that when I went to jail and I got out on bail. They served me the papers.
The papers had a date for you to appear for a hearing.
And I did. They dropped all charges.
Not the assault charges, sir, the order of protection. You have the copy of the protective order?
Yes,
I'd like to see it, please.
No, the protection of order they haven't dropped.
I'd like to see it.
And would you like my petition as well?
Yes, I would. This is an emergency order that you filed. I would like to see the final order that you say was issued for 2 years.
I believe that is it, Your Honor. Isn't it on the... If you read through it, I believe that is it.
Your Honor, I had went down to records in Minneapolis, and they told me there is a 2-year restraining order.
Order of protection.
Or order of protection, because I wanted to know how long it would last.
That's fascinating.
Huh.
So in 2015, he makes an application ex parte, which for everybody's information means all by himself. Only one party was there. That was the petitioner, for an emergency protective order asking the court to keep the plaintiff, in our case, away from him. And the court grants that order for 2 years.
Oh, that's step number 4. I was trying to tell you.
You have a copy of your police report, sir?
I do.
I'd like to see it.
Okay.
Why are you looking for that, sir? You want to tell me where you're living now?
I'm homeless. I live down at the shelter.
And what about your brother?
Same place.
Is there a reason why?
Because it's been hard for me to get housing.
But according to you, you were paying the defendant to live.
Yeah, but I have felonies on my record.
Just a second. But according to you, you were paying the defendant, you and your brother, $500 a month.
Yeah.
If you were paying the defendant $500 a month, Mr. Miller,
yeah,
why don't you take that $500 a month and get another room for you and your brother?
Well, I just told you.
Oh, that's not an answer.
Oh, I got felonies on my record. They just don't, it's hard for me to get housing.
When was the last felony you had on your record?
2011.
Is that the same time you moved in with the defendant?
Yeah, I was done, yeah. I was already, that's where I came out. I came out of prison to go live there. there.
And what about your brother?
He was already living there.
So you moved in with your brother?
Yes, with his consent.
That's all right. How long had your brother been living there?
Probably 2 months. 2 months, yeah.
Mr. Gutera, when was the last time the Miller brothers paid you rent?
July of 2014.
Can you tell me why you let them stay?
Because we had an arrangement per contract, which I have a copy of here, that they were to fix my roof in lieu of rent. And then they continued to not pay the rent. They did some things like rake the leaves, shovel the snow, mow the grass.
So they did work.
Some minor work,
that you
but
would
not
have to otherwise pay somebody for.
Right. But it was not what I would consider $500 worth.
That may be, sir, but you allowed that to continue for a substantial period of time. So you placed a certain value on what they were doing around the place to keep it tidy and neat.
Yes.
Okay.
Your Honor, it's not tidy and neat in his house. He is a hoarder. When my brother moved in, he had to go down and put a hot water heater in for him, and he had to make a makeshift shower because the shower upstairs you can't use because it's full of junk, and the tub's like way dirty. He can't even use it.
Mr. Miller, do you want to tell me what kind of work did you do beginning in 2011 up until 2015 when you were ejected from the defendant's house? What kind of work did you do?
I painted homes.
Were you employed by someone else?
Nope.
You were self-employed?
Yep.
Did you work regularly?
Nope.
And in 2011, you went directly from prison to live with your brother, who was living with the defendant.
Yep.
Now tell me, sir, where did you get money to accumulate $5,000 worth of stuff?
I've had stuff. I lived in Minnesota for 38 years.
You moved in with your brother in his room.
Right.
One room,
I
two
get
people.
Social Security benefits. That's where I get a lot of my money for living.
How old are you?
I am 58.
What do you get Social Security for?
For disability, because I get chronic headaches, and they kind of can be really disabling. And my ankle, I fell at work because I was working for somebody back in 2004.
Do you have any of his property?
No.
No. Okay.
Judge, former landlord and roommate Lawrence Gutera owes for damaged and stolen property, bail money, and unpaid wages. Lawrence is countersuing for storage fees, rent, stolen property, harassment, and an assault.
You have a counterclaim. Your counterclaim is for property taken, storage fees, rent fees. What storage are you talking about, sir?
I stored their things for 5 months in my garage and the 2 rooms.
Your Honor, I got pictures of how he stored my stuff right here, and how he wrote on my artwork, and how my artwork is missing.
I'd like to take a look at those pictures.
And I got a picture of the stairs there where there's no hand railings, where he accused me of throwing them down.
And I'm the one that shot the stairs that has the carpet there and how clean it is.
I have the receipts for the bail money. I have an itemized list of everything that's missing or damaged.
Who did these cartoons?
I did.
Did you write on these?
I took a grease pencil in a less than noble moment and wrote on it, "It is wipeable with a Kleenex."
No, that's right on them.
No, it's on the glass, Your Honor. They were all framed and glass covered.
He's already been known to lie. So that's all he's doing here now is lying, just to try to save himself and his dignity. Where all the furniture is stacked, that's the way he stacked it in a pod.
Just a second. Whose furniture was it? Just listen to me.
Mine.
Where did you get the money to buy this furniture? You were unemployed for 3.5 years. Tell me where you got the money, because he's going to be going with these same pictures probably to the court in Minnesota with his brother. So I'm asking you, is that your furniture or your brother's?
It was both of ours. We've been living together.
Good. Your case is dismissed. That's all. We're done.
And
now, you have a case for rent.
Yes.
You forgave rent with this ridiculous contract to fix your roof, do the gutters, and everything else. You should never have made that arrangement with them.
Yes.
Yes.
I do have pictures of the fact that the roof wasn't fixed at all.
I don't care. You should have evicted them earlier, sir. You let them mow your lawn, rake leaves, do whatever it was that you found in your best interest. So, my own...
Be seated. Have a seat, ma'am.
Ms. McNair, you weren't driving your car on the date of this accident a year ago. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
So you don't really know anything.
No.
This is your fiancé. He was driving.
Yes, ma'am.
He was driving your 2003 Lexus 300.
Yes, ma'am.
Did you have insurance on the car on the date of the accident?
No, ma'am.
Why were you driving your car without insurance?
I should not have been driving without insurance, Your Honor. That day when I had gotten off work, I had planned to go, once I got up, to go get the insurance reinstated.
How long had you been driving the car? You or your fiancé been driving the car without insurance?
No more than 3 days, Your Honor.
And you were driving a rental car?
Yes, ma'am.
You had insurance?
Yes, ma'am.
Through the rental company?
Yes, ma'am.
So they paid for whatever damage was on
Actually, our insurance paid it for our car.
Oh, the insurance that you had on your car covered
the rental
car?
Yes, ma'am.
Fine. So you had insurance?
Yes.
So you were supposed to be driving your car that day?
Yes, ma'am.
We understand each other?
Yes,
So
ma'am.
you're starting off in a bad place. Now, you want to tell me this is a year ago. What took you so long to file a lawsuit?
Your Honor, to tell you the truth, I felt Mr. Fish would do the right thing.
You had his insurance information.
Yes, ma'am, I did. And I'm
just a second. Yeah. You had his insurance information on his car. You believed that the accident, from what your fiancé told you, was his fault.
Yes, ma'am.
So you, I assume, submitted a claim to his insurance.
I did.
And I'd like to see what his insurance company said to you as a result of that claim.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, this doesn't say anything. It says, we received a report that you were involved in an accident with our policyholder. Please contact us.
Correct.
And give us your version of the events. Did you do that?
I did, Your Honor.
And can I see what the insurance company said to you in response?
Okay. Well, this is a letter after their investigation, Your Honor. Once I spoke to them, come to find out Mr. Fish gave falsified information.
Just a second. Don't tell me he gave misinformation. He may say you gave misinformation. I just want to see the letter, because you don't know anything about it because you weren't there, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Good. Okay, so Geico did their investigation, and it says, our investigation indicates that damages occurred because the driver of your vehicle failed to stop at a red light and collided with our insured who was making a left turn. That's what they determined. Now I'd like to see the police report. Because the whole issue is a relatively simple one. I've read the sir. Mr. Fish was driving, which is the blue car, and he was in the left lane. He was going to make a left turn on Tryon Road.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Watson was driving straight.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Fish says that he had a green arrow indicating that he could make a left turn, which means that Mr. Watson had a red light coming from his direction.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So the issue is, if you do understand, Mr. Fish, that if it was determined that there was no green arrow, that the accident would have been your fault because you're supposed to yield.
Correct. But I have a picture of the light. There's no yield on green sign. It's a green arrow light.
It's a green arrow light. Well, you say you had it. And if you
Yes,
had
ma'am.
the green arrow, then he had a red light. You would
Yes,
agree
ma'am.
with that, Mr. Watson?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Well, the police report is of absolutely no value. They say driver of vehicle 1 stated he had a green light. That's you. Driver of vehicle 2 stated he had a green arrow, right? How am I supposed to tell?
Well, as you can see, is there are steps of the diagram?
Absolutely.
Okay. As you can see here, I'm driving down. The light was green, and as I was passing the light, approaching the intersection, that's when the light turned yellow, and that's when Mr. Fish hit me head on, turning left.
But that doesn't answer my question, Mr. Watson. My question is, how am I to determine whether his story or your story is accurate? I mean, he's going to go over there and he's going to say, I was making a left turn and I had a green arrow.
Correct.
Right?
Yes, ma'am.
And you say, I had a green light, therefore he couldn't have had a green arrow. How am I supposed to make a decision about that?
Can't, because you wasn't there.
Right. But what would have happened is, if you had insurance, you could have gotten your car fixed, right?
Correct.
Just like he fixed the car he was driving in. It was a rental car, but the company fixed his car. How am I supposed to make a judgment about that? That's why you don't drive without insurance.
Correct, Your Honor. But also, I have a letter from the officer that come to the scene of the accident that said Mr. Fish was charged for failing to yield.
Is this an officer that came at the time?
This was the officer that come to the scene of the accident. Yes, ma'am.
Oh, I'd like to see that. That makes all the difference in the world.
Does it? I'm curious how one... Yes, ma'am.
Just a second. I could read it. If an officer determined, maybe there were witnesses there.
After the fact? She determined something without me there?
Officer can't determine after the fact.
That's what I thought.
No. Did an officer respond to the scene?
Yes, ma'am, she did.
Was this the officer who responded to the scene?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, okay. Is this a letter?
It's an email. The officer, unfortunately, I found out she was on medical leave.
Could you return this to her, please?
Well, Your Honor, it's the email basically stating that the officer...
Don't tell me an email to you stating anything. You have a police report that indicates that he failed to yield. I'd like to see it.
Well, if you look at the police report, Your Honor, on Mr. Fish's side, there is a Code 19. According to North Carolina law, in North Carolina states, the Code 19 means failing to yield. And I have a code here.
No. This is from the officer at the scene. This officer has no statements of eyewitnesses, no statements of any other witnesses. He said one driver said he had a green light, the other driver said he had a green arrow, and vehicle 1 was moved prior to my arrival. Vehicle 1 was your vehicle.
Correct.
It was moved prior to the officer's arrival. Now, were you given a citation?
Yes, I was.
By whom?
By the officer.
Was that Officer Murphy?
It was the officer on the police report.
Okay.
If that was her name.
And that's the officer that arrived.
Yes, ma'am. The only one.
What did you do with the ticket, with the citation?
I went to court for it.
And what happened with it?
I got a prayer for judgment.
What?
A prayer for judgment?
What does that mean?
Nothing happens. And if I...
No. Did you pay the ticket?
No, I paid a lawyer.
Paid a lawyer?
Yes.
And the lawyer paid the ticket? Don't get smart with me, Mr. Fisher. I mean, the fact that these people were driving around in an uninsured vehicle is not impressive to me. But when somebody acts like a smart aleck, that's less impressive. I asked you whether or not you paid a fine.
No, ma'am.
Did the lawyer pay a fine on your behalf?
No, ma'am.
So you were found not guilty?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Great. That's all I want to know. So you had a hearing.
Yes, ma'am.
And did he testify at the hearing?
No, ma'am.
Did the officer testify at the hearing?
No, ma'am.
Did the officer not show up?
The officer was there. We can't have a court day without her.
The officer testified.
No, ma'am.
Well, I'd like to know what happened at that hearing.
My lawyer spoke to the DA. I did not even approach the bench, and we achieved what's called a prayer for judgment in North Carolina.
Give me a minute.
Yes, ma'am.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Melanda McNair says motorist Kevin Fish ran a red light and totaled a car driven by her fiancé. Kevin insists he had a green arrow.
Order.
I really don't like smart alecks, Mr. Fish. A prayer for judgment, or a PJC, is unique to North Carolina law. Only a judge may grant you a PJC in the state of North Carolina, and it is usually reserved for traffic violations or petty misdemeanors. It essentially allows a defendant to plead guilty to a crime without having the plea entered against them. Would you please look up, because he's a wise guy, I'm just going to penalize them a little for not having insurance. I want you to look up the value, please, of a 2003 Lexus 300. You live with him?
It's my wife.
Good for you.
It's a 2003
Lexus 300.
10,800.
Did you owe money on the car?
I did.
How much?
$9,000.
What happened with that? Did they enter a judgment against you?
Actually, yes, ma'am. And,
did they enter a judgment?
Ma'am.
That's an expensive lesson.
Yes, ma'am.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $5,000. That's all. Thank you.
And now, the next case.
All parties in the matter of Duncan versus Edwards. Step forward.
Jennifer Duncan is suing Nyla Edwards and her daughter, Selena, for the cost to fix her windshield. Jennifer claims Selena's son, 14-year-old Craig Vaughn, hit it when he threw a football.
What's your first name?
Craig.
Craig, how old are you?
14.
Good. You weren't there.
No.
You weren't there?
No.
Good. You can both sit down. Craig, you stand up. Craig, you were playing football on September 7th?
Yes, ma'am.
Who else were you playing with?
My friend.
Which friends?
He lives across the street from me.
One friend?
Yeah, well, just one.
Okay. And you were playing in the street?
No.
Where?
I was playing in my yard.
Front yard or backyard?
Backyard.
And I want you to tell me about the football that you were playing that hit the plaintiff's car.
It was a small deflated football. Me and my friend was throwing it. I threw it to him, but it went over the gate and it hit the side of the car.
So you actually saw it hit the side of the car?
I did.
And then what happened?
That's when the car stopped. She got out and she was yelling, cursing, screaming at me and my friend, and she was threatening him. And then he started crying. He went upstairs and got his mom. And then that's when she called the police. And I had to call my grandmother from her phone, and she came out.
Okay. When you saw the plaintiff's car, was her windshield broken?
No.
It wasn't?
When I saw her car, oh yes, it was broken.
It was broken?
Mm-hmm.
You think she was driving around with a broken windshield?
Yes.
Nah. She wasn't driving around with a broken windshield. Not. You think she stopped the car just to give you a hard time?
Yes.
Yes. No. Okay. So the football hit your car?
Yes, ma'am.
And cracked your windshield?
Absolutely.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Have you had it fixed?
I did.
For this estimate?
No, what happened was I had that estimate. That's what I spoke to Miss Edwards about, what I called it. That's the estimate I got the next day. But what happened was when she said that she wasn't going to pay for it, she told me she was only going to pay $90. I sent her a text message and explained to her, I'm giving you to the end of the week to do right by something you said you was going to do. And she never got back to me, so the hole was getting bigger, so I had to get it fixed. And I got it fixed. But I didn't bring the receipt.
Well, this is the only thing that I have, which is $179. Look, which one of you volunteered to pay $90 for a windshield? Raise your hand. That was you. Good for you. Got to teach him. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $179. We're done.
Step out. Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
I'm happy that she found in my favor because Judge Judy is an intelligent woman and she knows that that boy was lying and lying and lying to her.
I was just throwing the football to him, but I just threw it up.
Everything he said out his mouth in front of his mother and his grandmother. It's outrageous conduct.
They was cursing at me and my friend, and they were screaming, threatening us. That was it.
Children should be supervised at all times, and if you're not, you're going to take responsibility for your unsupervised children's damage to other people's property.
May be seated, sir. Have a seat.
Mr. and Mrs. McCroskey, when were you married?
June 15th of 2014.
Who gave you an old boat for a wedding gift?
It was a former coworker of mine and friend.
Tell me the circumstances of getting it.
She wanted us to...
No, look at me.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Her and her husband had a smaller boat, and they're an older couple, and they felt that they could handle the smaller boat better than the larger boat, so they were wanting to discard of their boat and asked us if we would be interested and would give that to us as a wedding present.
So you exchanged no money for it?
There was no money exchanged.
And did you use the boat?
We did.
For how long?
We used it one time.
When?
We took it out July 4th of 2014.
Why didn't you take it out again?
We don't own a truck, and it cost us quite a bit of money to rent a truck to take it out the one time. And we felt that we didn't want to make an investment into purchasing a truck just so we could take the boat out a couple times a year.
Got it. So you left the boat where?
It was in our driveway.
Can I see pictures of it? I assume you have it. So you decided to sell it, and you sold it to the defendants, who were old friends. You knew each other for a while, and the price, according to you, that you agreed on was?
$2,000.
According to you, they paid you $1,000.
That is correct.
And didn't pay you the remainder.
That is correct.
Now, Mr. Rodriguez and Ms. Taylor say that the original deal was actually not that. They made some convoluted deal that they were going to take it and see if they liked it and put it in the water. But then if you gave them another $500, making it $1,000, they wouldn't sell it to anybody else. All of that, I must tell you, I'm not sure I believe. Now, you took the boat on what date? You took the
August
boat.
3rd.
And on August 3rd, you gave them $500.
That's correct.
And the agreed price was $2,000.
That's correct.
What date did they take the boat?
The actual date of purchase was done on August 3rd, 2014. The actual date they took possession was August 8th, 2014, at which point they paid $300 more towards the sale of the boat.
300 more
Yes.
on 8/8. Is that correct?
No, ma'am.
They have a bill of sale, I assume.
Yes, we do.
That's signed. And that was signed on August 3rd. Did you pick up the boat the same day that you bought it?
No. No.
You came back for it when?
August 8th.
Okay. And on August 8th, did you give them any more money?
$500 in total. I think it was 2 payments, $300 and then $200, which made it $1,000. We took possession August 8th.
Okay. So by August 8th, you had given them
$1,000.
$1,000. Well,
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
That is also not correct. The final payment of $200 was made on August 17th.
Doesn't matter. By August 17th, they had paid you $1,000. It doesn't matter.
We were told they just wanted the boat off of their property, so we made arrangements and did that to get it off the property.
That's okay.
Basically, we were doing them a favor, Your Honor.
You weren't doing them a favor at all. And don't speak out of turn. You weren't doing them a favor. This was a negotiated deal. They had a piece of property. You wanted the piece of property.
But we were doing them a favor because they wanted it off their property.
Of course they wanted it off their property. If they didn't want it off their property, they wouldn't have sold
Well, they
it.
didn't have any room for it. That was the whole purpose of it.
Mr. Rodriguez, are you not hearing yourself?
Yes, ma'am.
Of course they wanted it off their property. They weren't going to use it. And if they weren't going to use it because they didn't have a truck, and they weren't going to invest in the truck, they're going to get rid of an asset that they had. And they sold you an asset. They didn't sell you an asset because they wanted to keep it. They sold you an asset because they didn't want it on their property anymore. That's not you doing them a favor. I mean, that's like my going into a Chevrolet dealership and saying, I want that car. We negotiate a price. I take the car and I say to them, you know what? I'm not going to finish paying you because I was really doing you a favor taking the car off your lot. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, but that's not how it worked out. We didn't pay him the money because the boat had a crack in it.
Oh, well,
it was
that's
no good.
Just a second. That's not what you said in the answer. Let me tell you what Miss Taylor said. She said they wanted us to get the boat out of their yard. They said if we gave them a $500 deposit that day, they wouldn't sell the boat to anyone else. And if we wanted to buy the boat, they would sell it to us for $2,000. We wanted to take it out before we purchased it. So the plaintiff said that once they give them half, we could take it out. I mean, this is a convoluted story. But now you tell me what is your legitimate defense, at least in your mind, that you didn't want to pay them the rest of the money.
That's
because
correct.
the boat had a crack in it, right?
That's correct.
Right. Now I'm going to ask you, Now I'm going to ask you the following question. After you paid them $1,000, when was the first time that you took the boat out?
About a month later.
And between that time when you gave them $1,000 and the time that you took the boat out, did you have any communication with them?
No.
None. Is that right, Mr. Rodriguez?
That's correct.
So you took the boat out on the water and?
It didn't start.
And?
So I put it back on the trailer and took it home.
And?
That's where your son stuff.
And that's when I called the mechanic to have him come check it out.
And?
He checked it out and figured out that the starter needed to be rebuilt and they needed to put new batteries in it.
And?
So I had my mechanic and my son take it out and have them checked it out. They went out and they found that there was a crack in the boat.
And?
We brought it back before it sunk.
Just a second. Mr. Rodriguez, watch what you just said to me. You said between the time that you gave them the $1,000 and you took the boat out on the water, you had no communication with them, which means that you gave them $300 after you took the boat out on the water. And what you say is, in here, because you want the title to the boat, what you say, or what Miss Taylor says is, that Stacy took $300 from you and agreed to accept that in full satisfaction of the boat. So you actually paid additional money after you found that the boat needed a new starter and after you realized it had a crack in it, you paid her additional money.
That's correct.
That was in Vegas. That was in Las Vegas. She approached my husband.
I don't care if it was in Las Vegas or on Mars. If you have a boat that you say, I'm not going to go out in again because it's not seaworthy, and you decide not to go through with the deal, you don't give them extra money. Unless what you want to do is you wanted to shoot down the price that you had agreed on because there were things that had to be fixed on the boat. And you say, yes, we'll keep it. But it's got more things wrong with it than we thought.
No, she approached us in Vegas.
And said?
And said that if he gave her $300,
she would
we
sign
call
title
it
to the boat.
even.
Just a second. It's exactly what I just said to you.
That's correct.
She would call it even.
They call it even. That's exactly
But the thing about it is she didn't tell her husband about that.
Who cares?
And they got into an altercation in Las Vegas, and that's why they're suing us.
That's
Just
why
a
we're
second.
here.
I don't care. You don't understand. I just said exactly what you said, only I said it in legal terms, which was you agreed on $2,000, you took the boat out, you decided it had mechanical things wrong with it and a crack in it, but you didn't say I want all my money back. You said I want the boat. Put your hand down, sir. So far it doesn't sound like you're losing, right?
No, sir. No, ma'am.
I don't want to not have the boat. I want the boat, but I don't want the boat for $2,000. I want the boat for $1,300.
No, we approached them at one time. She had called, and we had told them we were not interested in the boat. They said to give the boat back to them, and if they sold the boat, they would give us
our money back.
Just a second. Then what did you give them the $300 for? Miss Taylor.
This was when she approached him in Las Vegas.
I said Las Vegas or Mars. It makes no difference to me. What you say in your answer and in your countersuit is that I have fully paid for this boat by giving them the $300 in Pluto, Mars, or Vegas. That was the deal. We originally made a deal for $2,000. I wasn't giving them the other $1,000 because there were mechanical things wrong with it and things I didn't like. But I say, all right, I'll forget all of those things, but you have to come down with the price and take $1,300. Because you're asking for the title back because you say I paid the full purchase price, which was what it was agreed to with Stacy. That's what you say in your answer. Well, they clearly don't owe you $1,000, sir. You understand that? They gave her $300.
No, ma'am. They did not give me $300 in Vegas.
She was belligerently drunk. She got into an altercation with me.
She says that she gave her $300. And I believe that, sir. That she gave her, or he gave her $300, and they said we just made $700 because we agreed to purchase this boat for $2,000. Now we got it for $1,300. That's a pretty good deal. We'll spend the other $700 in getting it seaworthy because you can fix it, right? Now, I believe that they gave you
Actually, Your Honor, what happened in Vegas, it was the day that we were going to the races, and I had not been drinking. And I approached Mr. Rodriguez, and I said to him that if you gave me $500,
oh my God,
that we would be able to take that price off. He said,
she
I'm not
approached
going
my husband in her pajamas.
Listen to me. Don't speak.
He said that he would not give me the $500 until after we returned from Vegas, and actually we didn't have any further communication.
I don't want to hear
with
from
them.
you yet.
He saw the
I don't want to hear
transaction.
from you yet.
There was no funds given to me in Las Vegas because he did not want me to.
Did you go there
not
together,
forget.
by the way, to Vegas?
Well, we flew separate, but we were together, yes.
But you were together.
Yeah, there was a big altercation. Police were involved. She wanted to get my girlfriend arrested. She was screaming up and down at the airport. She was detained at the airport till the next morning because she was so drunk that they weren't even allow her on the plane.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Gabriel Rodriguez and his girlfriend, Jana Taylor, owe for a boat and trailer. The defendants claim the boat has a crack in it. They are countersuing for the return of the money they paid or the title.
Now, you owe them $700 for the boat. You paid $1,300. You had a deal for $2,000. You owe them $700.
Yeah, but they sold us a defective boat.
Listen to me. No, you bought a defective boat. There's a difference. They can sell you anything if you are not bright enough to ensure that you're spending your money on something that's seaworthy. That's your problem. You're not buying a new boat from Chris Craft.
Well, then why did they want to take the boat back, sell it, and then give me back my money?
We were told to take the boat. There was nothing wrong with it.
You owe them $700. Now, you have the title to the boat?
I do.
Very good. Sign it over to them, and then we're done.
Yes, ma'am.
Great.
That boat wasn't even seaworthy, Your Honor.
That's your problem, so you should have been smarter. You should have had it inspected before you bought it.
Well, we're not maritime people.
I don't care whether you're maritime people. I'm not a maritime person.
They told us in good faith that the boat was good.
They told us to pay half.
Mr. Rodriguez,
take
Mr.
it out.
Rodriguez, let's not argue. This is not an argument that we're having. This
I'm
is
not trying to argue, Your Honor.
Very
I'm just
good.
trying to state my case.
Well, but you did, and I ruled. I said when you buy a used anything, a used car, a used boat...
Then why would they want to take it back and then give me my money back?
Don't ask me questions.
I don't
ask
understand
you,
that.
It's not my place.
Well, that's why
to
we're
explain.
here.
But I just explained it to you. You don't want to hear it. God gave you 2 ears and 1 mouth for
But
a
it's
reason.
not that I don't want to hear it. That's not what happened.
I've just explained it to you. You made a deal for $2,000 and then you wanted it for $1,300. That's what you're saying.
I didn't want anything.
That's what
she approached us for the $300, and she was belligerently drunk, and she accepted and didn't tell her husband about it.
Very good. You owe them $700 for the boat. They're signing over the title. Now you have the title and you have the boat. Great. We're done.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I believe that Mr. Rodriguez actually had committed the damage to the boat.
Well, I'm just glad it's over, but, you know.
Because I had informed him about the starter issues. He had inspected the boat.
They wanted to get rid of the boat, so they knew what they were doing.
Prior.
And now, the next case.
All parties in the matter of Sierra versus Starnes. Step forward.
Juan Ciari is suing contractor Sean Starnes for the return of money he paid for home remodeling.
Mr. Starnes, are you a licensed contractor?
Yes, ma'am.
Where?
Orlando, Florida.
How long have you been a licensed contractor in Orlando?
20-something years.
How did you find him to do the remodeling work on this shed?
He can recommend it to a real estate agent.
When the realtor recommended him to you, did you ask for references? Is not an answer.
Judge Judy, Juan Ciari says contractor Sean Starnes never completed the job he paid him to do.
Okay. When did you buy this property?
I bought it on August 2015.
What kind of property is it?
It's a small house, and when I get it, it was all torn down, and I was doing the whole remodel work on it.
Show me a picture of the house.
Here is one of it, and the front of the house, and the back.
How much did you pay for the house?
$18,000.
With the land?
Yes. Well, sorry, 22 total. It was 22 with the land.
So what he was supposed to do is make this shed into a place for you to live?
Yeah, he's supposed to do a good job on it, finish the whole remodeling. New walls, new floor, new bathroom, new kitchen. And he didn't do anything. He didn't do anything. We had an agreement for $6,800. Here is the contract with his name and his signature here, where it states the total, the labor, and the work is $6,800, and I give him a deposit of $3,400.
Did you give it to him in a check?
Yes, I have here the receipt of the check where it states his name and my name. I have both here. His signature, my signature, the contract. After I gave him...
Okay, so Mr. Starnes, he gave you $3,400.
That is correct.
That's where we started. And this is what I'm reading, because this looks like a contract to me.
Yes,
it may not have the formality of a contract, but this is what it says that you were going to do. Buy and install the windows. Did you do that?
No, ma'am. They were
just a second. I didn't ask you for an explanation. I said, did you buy and install the windows?
They were bought, but they wasn't installed.
Where are the windows?
He got the windows because I called him.
Did you get the windows?
Yes,
just
I did.
A second.
Yes.
You got the windows?
Yes.
So they were purchased. How much were the windows? You have a receipt.
I don't have a receipt. I gave it to him.
How much were the windows?
Total was $700 for it.
Okay, windows, $700, which you also got. All drywalls and textures. Did you do all that?
No, man, it wasn't completed.
Okay. Tub, toilet, tile. Did you do that? It's a yes or a no. All the wiring. Did you do that?
Almost all of it, yes.
Almost?
Yes, ma'am. 99%.
Did you do all the plumbing?
80% done.
Did you do all the painting, interior and exterior?
No, ma'am. Exterior, primer coat.
You didn't do all the painting and all the painting, interior and exterior?
No.
Did you do all the flooring?
No.
No. Okay, so what you did was you did almost all the wiring and 80% of the plumbing.
Yes, ma'am.
And then, for whatever reason, you did not finish the job.
No, ma'am. Sure didn't.
And yet, having completed, there are 7 things that you're supposed to do here.
Right.
Now.
There's a lot more to it than just, you know.
There's not much more to it.
Well, you know, you're making it sound like I didn't do nothing, which I did.
Well, no, listen to me. Don't say I made it sound like you did nothing. I went through your contract, 1 through 7.
Yes, ma'am.
I asked you what you did. You answered me what you did.
Right.
And what you didn't do. And what you didn't do, pursuant to the contract, was a lot more than what you did do, and yet you got half the money.
Yes, ma'am.
You didn't do half the work.
No, ma'am.
So how much money are you going to give back to the plaintiff?
None.
Oh, yes, you are. Oh, yes,
Okay.
you are.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Verbal agreement also.
No, you can't have a verbal agreement.
Oh, we can't?
No.
Oh, okay.
No. And if you're a contractor and if you're in business for a long time, you should know that you can't have a written contract.
You can't.
Hey,
yes, ma'am.
hey,
I'm not going to argue with you.
You can't have a written contract,
ma'am.
which this is,
Yes, ma'am.
and also have a verbal one.
Right.
Your contract with him is the four corners of this document.
Yes,
You
ma'am.
signed it. He signed it. You list exactly what you're going to do. You want to alter it, you alter it right here.
Yes, ma'am.
So that the person who has to decide whether you're entitled to that money.
Yes, ma'am. But before you make your ruling, he did get a brand new tub, brand new toilet, all the wiring, all the wood, all the overlay for the tile. He's got all that. It's paid for. See, it's a lot more to it.
Just a second. Did you return any of these items?
No, ma'am. I just returned the $500 worth of tile. The rest was left on the job. The paint also.
So, now I want you to show me the receipts.
I don't have receipts, ma'am.
Just a second. What did you think you were coming? You were coming to the beach today?
Well, I was
You're
working.
the contractor. You knew what you were coming here for.
Yes, ma'am.
So
but
just show me the
job.
receipts. Just show me the receipts of what you say.
I don't have it, ma'am.
You don't have it. Good.
No, ma'am.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $3,400.
Yes, ma'am.
We're done. Out. Hustler.
Parties are excused when they step out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
Word.
Every time he was told to do something, I know what I'm doing. Don't have to tell me what to do.
Well, that's a lie.
Of course he tried to chest bumping me. He wanna fight me.
No, I don't chest bump my customers.
Don't give money in advance because this is the type of a scam.
Never had a problem in 30 years I've been in business. But this one here.
They ask you for half of the money up front.
Have a seat, please.
Mr. LaBreche, this is your former wife.
Yes.
And I assume you're her mother.
Correct.
And you are suing both of them because, from what I read, after your divorce, your former wife was arrested and you bailed her out. It is your claim at the request of both her mother and herself, and that both of them agreed that they would be responsible for the bail if you posted the initial bail, which I think you said was $1,000. Is that right?
Mostly.
Tell me where it's mistaken.
Just a slight mistake. Nita Wilms did specify that she would not pay the bill, but she would talk to me, keep in communication so that we could make sure that Molly paid the bill. And Molly promised that she would pay the bill.
Molly is your former wife.
Molly is my former wife, yes.
Okay, first let's backtrack a bit. Miss LaBreche, what were you arrested for and when?
Petty theft in 2008.
Is that the only time you were arrested?
No, ma'am.
Is that the instance that we're talking about here?
No, ma'am.
Well, when were you arrested on the incidents that we're talking about here?
In 2013.
What were you arrested for?
Violation of probation, drug related. I was dirty test.
And what kind of jail time were you looking at?
About 180 days in jail.
Had you ever been incarcerated before for that period of time?
No.
Up until that time, what was the longest period of time that you had been incarcerated?
About a week.
And how long had you and your husband been divorced in 2013?
We legally separated in 2001, and I believe our divorce finalized within a year to 2 years later.
And you have children together?
Correct.
How many?
2.
And they live with your husband, former husband, and
Correct.
they've always lived with your former husband.
Not always, no. When they were young, they lived with me up until 2005. When I was arrested for DUI,
He was awarded custody of the children.
Correct.
And they've remained with him since.
Yes.
I assume that you do not pay child support. Is that correct?
I do, actually. It was just ordered.
Up until this year, which is 2016, were you paying child support?
Yes, I was.
When?
I was paying in 2014, I believe. I was paying for about a year, $100 a month, $50 per child, and it came directly out of my disability.
What's the nature of your disability?
I have physical disabilities, back problems, sciatic nerve damage, other disabilities.
How much do you get from disability?
Approximately $928 a month.
And when did that start?
I applied for it in 99, but I was granted it in 04.
How old are you?
49.
Now, how much does she owe on her bond?
The number I have is 4,786. I made a slight error. It's 4,871.
Why didn't you pay the bail?
I didn't have the money at all.
Well, you have $928 a month. You have enough to pay something.
That's barely enough to live on, with rent, food.
You're absolutely correct. You were arrested for drug use.
Correct.
In 2013. For
Correct.
using drugs.
Correct.
That suggests to me that you had enough money to buy drugs.
Okay.
Well, if you have enough money to buy drugs in addition to your food, then you had enough money to start paying back your bail. Now, you're going to tell me drug addiction is an illness. I couldn't help myself. But now I read in your answer that you've been clean and sober for 6 months.
Correct.
Well, if that's correct, why don't you take the money that you've been using for your taxpayer money that you've been using since '04, when you started to collect disability, and you were using it to buy drugs? Because if that's your only source of income, then you had to be using my money to buy drugs, right?
No, it was prescription drugs also. Prescription medication, too.
So what? You're still using taxpayer money to fund your drug habit. And it's great that that burden has apparently been lifted from you for the last 6 months, but now you have all that money left over. Now, were you ever arrested for anything other than prescription drugs?
No.
Were you ever violated for, you have that?
I have 6 different things from
I'd like to take
El
a
Dorado
look at
County only. There's more in Sacramento I don't have.
Have anything you want to say to me?
Yes, Your Honor. My daughter, and you know, she's had a troubled life. They had a very troubled marriage. It was pretty much doomed from the beginning. They both did drugs together. They both did a lot of bad stuff. They were like train wrecks from the very beginning. And I can't defend my daughter for what she's done, and I don't. I didn't know that she went to jail this time. I didn't know someone bailed her out. I didn't know anything about it. And I don't even know why I'm here.
Are you telling me that after being divorced for almost a decade and being the sole provider for that decade of his and your daughter's 2 children, and they were not together at that point, is that right?
At that point, but at the time she was arrested, they were cohabitating in an apartment and splitting rent.
Is what you're telling me in 2013 they were living together?
Yes, in Tahoe.
Is that correct?
I believe so.
What do you mean we believe so?
I'm not sure of the dates exactly on the time.
So what you're telling me is that after the divorce was finalized, you and your former husband were living together.
Correct.
And that was as late as 2013.
Yes, I slept in the living room on an air mattress. My boys shared the room, and he had his own room.
And you want to tell me why you had that arrangement?
I have bad credit because of my past, and I had a hard time finding my own apartment. I couldn't come up with a deposit that they wanted to get into my own apartment, and I was having difficulty.
So how long did you stay with him and the children?
6 months to a year.
And the probation violation that you were arrested for in 2013, how did that come about?
I went in to visit my probation officer on an appointment, and they drug tested me, and I came up dirty.
So you were using drugs while you were living with your former husband and the children?
Yes.
Was he?
No.
How long has he been sober?
Well, he still uses pot.
Other than that?
For years, as far as I know.
What did you test dirty for at the probation violation?
Methamphetamines.
So is what you're suggesting to me that your former husband was being kind to you by letting you bunk in his house?
Yes, I was paying half the rent. I paid $450 a month.
Listen to me.
Yes,
Listen to me.
I'm sorry.
Do you know the reason I'm here is because I'm like a truth machine? None of this was in your complaint or the answer, okay? Certain things have a ring of truth to it. Certain things don't. She's not willing to cut herself any slack at all with regard to what she had dirty urine for, what her life was. And if she tells me she was paying half the rent, I believe her. So you can shake your head until it falls off.
Okay, ma'am.
You understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
Great. Now, what kind of work do you do?
At the moment, I'm on disability. I got PTSD from my childhood, and I suffer from depression because of it. The stress from dealing with my children, and they're both ADHD, and one's in jail right now, so there's been problems.
So is what you're trying to tell me that if I give you $4,786, because your only source of income is disability, is that correct?
At the moment, yes.
Well, how long has it been?
2013.
And how much do you get from disability?
At the moment, I only got $1,300 for me and him.
So right now you have $1,300. And if I award you $4,786, it's going to come out of her disability that I'm paying for. I'm just trying to follow the money here. And you're concerned because your credit has been ruined because you found out that this is on your credit because you co-signed for the bail. Is that right?
Well, I started paying right away, and my credit is not messed up. But
now I would like to see, just for my own information, proof of payments for the last 3 months.
Oh, there's one more. I'm sorry.
I want to see the information from the bail bondsman from whom you're paying this. Can I see this, please? Officer Byrd, would you please read out to Mr. Lebrecht the telephone office number on this document that he just gave me to support his statement that he owes $4,786 on this credit? Could you read out this phone number?
714-7714.
It's not in this country. I don't know what country it's in.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Justin Lebrecht says ex-wife Molly Lebrecht and her mother, Juanita Wilmes, owe for bail money and for damaging his credit.
Okay. Well, first of all, I'm dismissing your whole case, Mr. Lebrecht, on the following basis. First, you said that the bond, what was owed, is $4,786. If I believe any of this baloney, then this page that you gave me from a telephone number that is non-existent in this country, which says that the current balance is $1,588.
That's the collection agency from Aladdin Bail Bonds. It went into collections. I started paying it right away as soon as it went into collections. And I still have other debts that I have to pay. Our child is in jail. We have to pay $15 a day for every day he's in there. We're both obligated to pay it. I'm going to have to pay it myself.
Well, let me tell you.
All I want her to do is pay
Mr.
this.
Lebrecht, you're not going to pay it yourself for your child who is now in jail. You know who's going to pay it?
Taxpayers.
We are. Because the only way that you two people are supported is from the government.
I paid into the taxes. I'm going to pay into the taxes as soon as they graduate. I can go back to work.
Goodbye. We're done.
Somebody's excused. May step out.
She begged me. I would have never bailed her out. With that history of hers, there's no way I would have bailed her out.
He has been a bully our entire relationship.
There's no way. I told her. There's no way. I cannot deal with this. I can't even. I'm barely going to pay my rent. I'm behind on bail.
If it's not his way, it's the highway.
And they're just like, whatever.
And he has to be in control, and everything has to be...
Because they don't give a rat's patootie about anybody but themselves.
What he wants and what he thinks.
She ain't clean and sober. I doubt it. I don't believe it a second.
Xin chào mọi người. Ở video trước, mình đã hướng dẫn cho mọi người hoàn thành xong hàng móc số 5 của phần mặt nạ con bébê như thế này. Và ở video lần này, mình sẽ hướng dẫn mọi người móc hàng móc số 6, số 7 và hàng số 8. Và ở hàng số 6, mọi người sẽ móc cho mình với công thức đó là 2x, 1 tăng và 2x. Rồi, mình đã hoàn thành xong hàng móc số 6 và bây giờ mình sẽ móc hàng móc số 7. Công thức của hàng số 7 sẽ là 5x và một tăng. Rồi, vậy là mình đã hướng dẫn cho mọi người hoàn thành xong được hàng móc số 7. Và bây giờ mình sẽ móc hàng số 8. Công thức của hàng số 8 mọi người sẽ móc cho mình 42 mũi x trên một hàng.